1700 or visit arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. Mention AM560 and enjoy 20% off your first service call. Again, go to arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. The original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, not the biggest, but absolutely the best.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. If you're a business owner with unfiled tax returns, tax season is not your friend. This is when the IRS turns up the heat. They match 1099s. They review payroll filings. They compare bank deposits. And when returns are missing, they don't send you a warning. They take action. Penalties stack up fast. Liens become public. Bank levies can drain your account. I see it every year. Good business owners who waited too long, not because they're crooks, but because they were overwhelmed. Let me be clear, hiding makes it worse. Action makes it fixable. I help business owners get compliant, file what's missing, and negotiate from a position of strength, not fear. Don't wait for the next certified letter. Don't wait for a levy. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll tell you exactly what to do next, step by step. Or call me right now at 312-664-6649. Act now before the IRS acts first.
And now it's time for the Cat's Corner.
This is John Catsimatidis, the Cat's Corner. Well, I remember the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. What happened? We have too many politicians in Washington that know nothing about business. Why? We need more common sense in Washington. Whether we're talking about the federal government, state government, you need common sense. We need the balance of power in our government. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, professionals, business people, and blue-collar workers. And that's the only way we can come out with common sense. Putting on taxes and regulations without knowledge of what happens. Some of the states are not doing a good job. All they do is raise taxes. And then when they need more money, they tax the taxes. I mean, you got to laugh about it, but it's happening. We need people that have common sense, a balance of power in all our legislative functions to be able to operate our country, our states, our cities more efficiently. This is John Catsimatidis, the Cat's Corner.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher loves shining the light on problems.
The Sarasota County Democratic Party is feeling disappointed. And then their comment was, well, that sucks. Oh, it sucks that the assassin didn't hit his target? There is a cleansing here. The rock is being lifted up and the cockroaches are being revealed. And there's a lot of cockroaches.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's May 11th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is the day we all get to show off our love of food as we celebrate National Eat What You Want Day. Have you ever wanted to try Baked Alaska? Go ahead. Is your guilty pleasure to eat a ridiculous number of chili cheese dogs? Well, don't feel ashamed. Today is the day to disregard the scale and indulge. Also on this date, General Electric opened the very first television station in 1928. Located in Schenectady, New York, WRGB began broadcasting experimentally, but would broadcast actual programming later the same year. And in 1977, media mogul Ted Turner managed a game for the Atlanta Braves. Pitcher Phil Niekro was starting that game for Atlanta and jokingly asked the rookie manager where he wanted him to hit in the lineup. Turner's response, well, you've been here long enough, hit wherever you want. Niekro hit ninth, where he would have hit normally. The Braves, however, lost the game 2-1. I'm Tushar Saxena with your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
The first Top Shelf Country Cruise promised big, and it delivered. Now the bar's set. If you were there, you know. If you weren't, it's time to get on board. Set sail aboard the Celebrity Summit in March 2027, where laid-back luxury meets country fun. We're talking toes in the sands of Bimini, fun in the sun in Key West and Cozumel, live band karaoke, trivia, bingo, and performances from Riley Green, Chris Young, Lauren Elena, Randy Hauser, and more. Lock in your cabin now at TopShelfCountryCruise.com.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft, but that's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If they find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes in your financial accounts, they'll alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that can make all the difference. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. LifeLock.com, 800-LifeLock, 1-800-LifeLock, or LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK at LifeLock.com.
I'd like to tell you about a man named Phineas who as a child survived the Holocaust. Phineas survived because Christians hid him from the Nazis, risking everything to save his life. Today, Phineas is in his 80s. He can no longer stand on his own or even leave his home to receive medical care. And when sirens sound and missiles fall, he doesn't have the time or the strength to reach safety. But once again, Christians are helping to save his life. Through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, a mobile clinic brings doctors and medicine right to Phineas's doorstep, providing care that he otherwise would not receive, especially during a time of war. Phineas said, "Christians saved my life during the Holocaust, and now again, they are helping me." As Israel's Holocaust Remembrance Day approaches, remember these precious children of God by lifting them up in prayer, asking for his protection, his comfort, and his peace. Stand with Israel in prayer by visiting supportifcj.org. That's supportifcj.org.
For 25 years, Applied Mechanical Sales has kept Chicago's commercial buildings warm and running smoothly. From schools and churches to high-rises and hotels, they provide the boilers, water heaters, and exhaust systems that contractors and engineers count on. Whether it's a replacement project or a new construction, Applied Mechanical helps you select the right equipment, standard or high efficiency, for your specific application. What sets them apart? They match the right Camas equipment to your building's exact needs, so it performs flawlessly through Chicago winters for the next 15 to 20 years. And they don't disappear after installation. Applied Mechanical ensures your systems run at peak efficiency year after year. Are you a degreed mechanical engineer looking to lead a growing sales team? They'd love to talk to you. Schedule a site visit and boiler assessment at appliedmechanicalsales.com. That's appliedmechanicalsales.com.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Scott Jennings fearlessly fights back against the mainstream media on the Scott Jennings podcast.
The Supreme Court's decision striking down racial gerrymandering. The Supreme Court said enough is enough, and in this ruling, the justices raised the bar. They said if you want to challenge a map as discriminatory, you now have to prove actual intent, not just point to statistical disparities.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
Fight or flight? In Illinois, you've got both options. You can stay and fight, engage in local races, work to change things. Or you can vote with your feet. At leavingil.com, we help you build a smart exit plan so you know where to go, when to go, and how to do it right. Take our quick exit readiness assessment. Go to leavingil.com. That's leavingil.com. Or call 224-800-6979.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly sunny and cool with a high of 59. Tonight, expect clear skies early, followed by increasing clouds. It'll be chilly with a low of 42. Tomorrow will be cloudy, breezy, and warmer with a couple of showers around, mainly late in the day, and a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Shut her down. Lock it down. Hantavirus. I've been assiduously attempting to avoid this conversation for the last week, hoping that it would dissipate. But again, I shouldn't be so naive, knowing the D.C. press corps, as it were, has the opportunity to manufacture a frenzy over a virus, given our not too distant experience with COVID. What's happening at this point shouldn't surprise me. 17 Americans from Hantavirus cruise ship arrive in U.S. for quarantine. Now, there, thankfully, are cooler heads in public health posts in this administration than there were, well, in the previous two, including Trump 1.0. And I'm speaking specifically of someone at the head of NIH, not named Fauci, but named Bhattacharya. And this was what he had to say on Jake Tapper show over the weekend.
In touch with the WHO, we're in touch with the international health organizations, including the one in Spain, and we have been providing technical assistance to all of those organizations all the way through. This is not COVID, Jake, and we don't want to treat it like COVID. We don't want to cause a public panic over this. We want to treat it with the hantavirus protocols that we're successful in containing outbreaks in the past, and so we followed those protocols. Like we gave this health alert is coming out because again there's this discrete event of the 17 arriving in the United States very, very soon, and so we just want to make sure that the medical community understands this. We've been communicating the last week as the press attention has picked up more with the public as is appropriate given the nature of this disease. The key message I want to send to your audience is that this is not COVID. This is not going to lead to the kind of outbreak. And I was pleased to hear your the opening segment where you emphasize that, because we shouldn't be panicking when the evidence doesn't warrant it.
And of course, the ornithologists have struck again here. Patient 0 for hantavirus has been identified as a 70-year-old Dutch ornithologist who visited that infamous landfill in Argentina. I wonder if there's a Chinese virology lab near there. Visited a landfill in Argentina containing rodents potentially carrying the Andes strain of the hantavirus, which is the one that is more communicable among humans than the other strains of hantavirus. That God, it's not a unique coronavirus, or CTU would already be calling for remote learning. 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com call-in and text line. So they're on this cruise, and ornithologists and bird lovers go to this landfill where that's supposed to be a good bird watching site. And apparently, as this can happen, there are previous cases of this, human infection and transmission. I mean, not to get too graphic this early in the morning, but, rodent feces, if it's dry and dust kicks up and you inhale it, it potentially could be transmitted to a human, and then humans in close quarters, like say on a cruise ship, could transmit it amongst themselves through, saliva and whatnot. Usually requires close contact, sneezing, I guess, so close contact, airborne transmission. But it does not have near the communicability of COVID, although it is potentially lethal. So again, a floating incubator like a cruise ship would be ideal for transmission, and that's what's happened a bit. But as Dr. J says, no need to lose your mind over this. But for those of you that are still wearing masks, I guess that's probably past post. Probably the first whiff of hantavirus, you've already hermetically sealed yourself in your house and are calling for mandatory PCR testing. Well, that's actually Dr. Deborah Birx, what she essentially intimated. She's re-emerged. Oh, so good to hear from her. Dr. Deborah Birx, the demon lady with the scarf. You remember her. Tony Fauci's sidekick. She was on News Nation back to talk about PCR testing. Not willing to use the term mandatory quite yet. She's really learned to be restrained.
So the Andes strain is the only strain where we have mapped human-to-human transmission. And I caution people because when we say human-to-human transmission, we're talking about people who develop symptoms. But because we're not testing populations with RNAs, we don't really know whether there are subclinical cases. So there could be more human-to-human transmission than we actually see. It's never good to track viruses through symptoms. We should be tracking viruses through blood tests like PCR. We've learned that with COVID. Extraordinarily helpful. Many universities were able to open and schools were able to open because they provided weekly testing and it really prevented spread. So we know how to deal with these viruses. Mm-hmm. We just need to move into the 21st century and make testing more widely available to those who need it.
Text from 847, has CNN started the body count clock yet? Yeah, no, I'm waiting for that. You know, they'll just give them something. So, you know, the 17 Americans quarantined, maybe they'll start with the count of the quarantined Americans and in other countries, the infected. Yeah, they're going to do their best to make sure this is front and center. I mean, the point has been made by a couple of medical professionals you may have seen circulating on social media and podcasts and so forth. I'll tell you what did spread like wildfire, not hantavirus, but the coverage of it. I mean, completely disproportionate with the newsworthiness of frankly, at this juncture and expected, as you heard from Dr. J, not Julie Serving, Bhattacharya I'm talking, an insular incident, outbreak. But, I mean, there have been thousands of articles, and it's not just the one-off, like, this occurred, who, what, where, when. It's the, what does this mean? Should we be hysterical? How lethal is it? And, you know, all of the whipping, the beginnings, the slow burn of frenzy, mania that the media likes to whip up, as we so witness, not just with respect to viral outbreaks, but with respect to just about every topic under the sun. And I'm so glad the demon lady with the scarves is back. Because, you know, as we're talking, as we were last week, a bit about Tony Fauci and people concerned about the statute of limitations about to expire against Fauci for his various crimes against humanity. Explained last week, he's got this blanket pardon. It would have to be a new deposition or state-level charges, but I digress. We've revisited it, and also because of some, because of a recent report Ron Johnson did on the algorithms that were used to make claims about those who were vaccine injured, underreporting the incidence of vaccine injuries. So COVID was back in the news last week. We talked a bit about it. Now Dr. Birx is back in the news, and let's make sure that the permanent record of Dr. Birx isn't lost to history as she tries to rehabilitate her reputation and her relevance, and that's what she's doing when she goes on, you know, a friendly like News Nation to sound like a medical professional. I go back to this documentary from a couple of years ago by Rob Mons, Good Kid Productions. We had him on the program. It was pretty good. It's short. I think it's only about a 20, 25-minute documentary. It's worth checking out if you haven't seen it or if you don't recall it, to go back and review it. It Wasn't Fauci is the name of the documentary. It Wasn't Fauci, Rob Mons, Good Kid Productions. And the thesis of the documentary is that Birx actually was the most responsible party for the policy recommendations that were offered the White House. And it was Birx who used the AIDS model from the 80s to treat every case as a killer, to focus on kids, to get to zero cases at any cost, which was an impossibility. That was the three-pronged approach. Treat every case as a killer, wasn't. Focus on the kids, focus should have been on the seniors, as we know, and get to zero cases at any cost. It was Birx, not Fauci. It was both of them, but the primary culprit, according to Mons in this documentary, was Birx. So it's good to have her back. Maybe if she continues to make the rounds, some people can ask her about some of these things, like, I don't know, July 2020 meeting where Dr. Scott Atlas was there on school closures.
There was an oval table with about 8 of us. Fauci did not have an official role in charge of anything on the task force. Birx was the one that wrote personally all of the official White House policy to every governor. She was an AIDS scientist. She somehow made this analogy between the two diseases. On the agenda would be risk to children in schools. Vice President Pence went around and said, so we're all in agreement, right? And so I said, okay, I totally disagree. The risk to children was known to be extremely minuscule, but it was very harmful to close schools. During the spring 2020 school closures alone, 300,000 cases of child abuse, they were not noticed because schools are the #1 agency where child abuse is reported. There was an explosion on suicidal ideation. 1 out of 4 college-age kids were thinking of killing themselves. There was silence, except for one statement by Birx. You're an outlier. I'm an outlier. There was no data to refute what I said.
An atlas on Birx's legacy, Dr. Scott Atlas.
They destroyed everybody to stop cases of COVID, and it destroyed millions of people. That is the legacy of the Birx guidance.
And just quickly, Ron Johnson's report, which I'll post, suggests that upwards of 40,000 people died as a direct result of taking the vaccine. And the number of vaccine injured via VAERS is north of 1.4 million, I believe was the number he cited. And of course, as we know, we talked about quite a bit during the thrust of COVID. VAERS estimates, their own estimates by public health officials, is that about 1% of vaccine injuries are reported through the voluntary reporting system called VAERS. Yeah. The reckoning that hasn't come, I know people focused on Fauci, particularly last week, but it's much bigger than him, isn't it? All right, let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
45 degrees in Chicago, sunshine in the QC Kinetics newsroom, a cooler high of 58 later today. Iran's response to the U.S. proposal to end the war is drawing the ire of President Trump. In a Sunday post online, Trump saying he has read the response from what he referred to as Iran's so-called representatives and called it unacceptable. 3 are dead following a wrong-way crash in the western suburbs. State police say the accident happened yesterday when a wrong-way driver slammed into another vehicle head-on on I-88 in Aurora. Names of the victims have not been released. The University of Illinois resuming final exams after a cyber attack involving the Canvas system that was run by infrastructure.
I was actually in the middle of one of my final exams when abruptly the screen shut down and I was unable to do anything.
In an email, the university announced that Instructure and Canvas at Illinois is now available online and available to the university community. All exams originally scheduled for Friday did take place yesterday. A Chicago priest is accused of inappropriate conversations and communications with minors and adult women. Cardinal Blaise Cupich sent a letter Saturday to St. Francis Assisi Catholic Parish announcing that the Reverend Jose Molina has been removed. Cubs were shut out for the second day in a row with a loss to the Rangers. White Sox come back to beat the Mariners 2-1, and the Bulls celebrating after landing the 4th overall pick in the 2026 NBA Draft lottery. The news, a service of Allstate. With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer and a look at your morning forecast comes your way next on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobridge Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are three companies quietly building a trillion-dollar triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These three companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on three companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which three companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly sunny and cool with a high of 59. Tonight, expect clear skies early, followed by increasing clouds. It'll be chilly with a low of 42. Tomorrow will be cloudy, breezy, and warmer with a couple of showers around, mainly late in the day, and a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. You heard on this show a few weeks ago from former Virginia State Attorney General that what happened on Friday was going to happen. The Virginia State Supreme Court overturning the referendum results in that remapping that was done by the Dem Socialists and Spanberger, who said she had no interest in pursuing a remap, a redistricting, but she did anyway, facilitated the gerrymandered map that would have likely moved the congressional delegation split in Virginia from 5-4 Democrat to 10-1 Democrat. So a 4-seat pickup for Democrats that was projected. And this was in response to, they say, the left, the cartographers on the left, great practitioners in the dark art of gerrymandering, but came to the table as Pollyannas just responding to the fire that Greg Abbott delivered in Texas. That's what they said. It's not true, but that's what they said. So it was going to be +4, and that would have been in response to Texas, and combined with Virginia responding to Texas, and California responding to Texas, and even with Florida responding to Virginia, responding to Texas, and California responding to Texas, you still would have had the neo-Marxist Party more or less holding their own, although the Louisiana v. Callis decision changed that calculus significantly as well. Regardless, the net is that that map in Virginia, she gone. And the net of this redistricting battle is Texas is up 5 seats. That's been upheld in court. Tennessee passed a new map that likely gives them that 1 seat in the congressional delegation in Texas that the GOP didn't have. The Memphis seat. The black seat held by Stephen Cohen, honky, that seat. Florida +4, we talked about. Virginia now goes back to what it was. So that is a sort of a net pickup of 4 seats if you're counting in real time. And then the ending of a racially discriminatory maps in the Callis decision is, a projected pickup potential of between 15 and 20 seats. So it's significant. So significant that even Jim Clyburn, the Biden whisperer, even Jim Clyburn he felt compelled to admit that it's possible Republicans could maintain the House in the November midterms. However, then he cautioned, be careful. And as they're running around decrying the Virginia Supreme Court decision and the remapping in red states, generally speaking, as Jim Crow 2.0, and the gerrymandered maps in blue states, not Jim Crow 2.0, of course not. Not cheating, not unfair. When we do it, it's to preserve our democracy. When they do it, it's cheating, it's racist, it's a remnant of white supremacy, it's MAGA extremism, and so forth. You know the rap. But Clyburn, I think, accidentally did a self-own here when it comes to all of their overheated rhetoric about Jim Crow 2.0.
I do believe that the voters in this country are watching very closely, and they are feeling emotionally what the threat is to our future. And I do not believe that the majority of the voters in this country condone and will agree with what President Trump is doing. South Carolina, our delegation, our House, talked with him, the Senate, I guess, on the day before yesterday. But the Supreme Court, 2 years ago, spoke to this district and said it was not unconstitutional. But the president says he wants them to redraw the lines anyway. All I'm going to say to that is be very careful what you pray for. Because what I do believe is that when they finish with the redistricting, there will be the possibilities of at least 3 Democrats getting elected here in South Carolina to the United States Congress.
So you think that the redistricting they're doing in South Carolina could
help Democrats' prospects win more seats. Okay. Well, then what's the problem? And I'm sorry, what is your argument that the remapping is inherently racist and it's Jim Crow 2.0, but it could produce more black Democrat representatives or Democrat representatives because it presents for more competitive seats? They're drawing the maps to use the Tennessee example, to give the GOP the likelihood of picking up the Memphis seat, but that necessarily means there'll be some more Democrat-leaning voters put into seats that are perceived to be, say, Republican seats. And so you make both seats more competitive. And it also suggests, as Lauren Underwood herself suggested. She didn't suggest it, she said it. She's not, dissuaded from the remapping that's happening state by state, in the sense that, well, a black candidate could win a district that's not majority black. You don't say. Really? Thank you for joining the conservative ranks in saying that, yeah, that happens all the time. She should know she is a black candidate who won in a district that is not majority black. Of course that can happen. But that's not the argument you're advancing. The argument they're advancing is more along the lines of what you hear from the Maxwell Frosts of the world. He's a race-hustling, Gen Z neo-Marxist in Florida.
My heart is heavy for the country because we see that this is going on all across the South. And it's important for people to realize that this isn't happening in a vacuum. This isn't a plan that just came up because Donald Trump said to go redistrict. This is the product of a 60-plus year plan to bring this country into Jim Crow 2.0, an era where they've traded in the hoods for suits and ties, an era where they are trying to use our democracy against us to take away not just our right to vote, but our right to protest, our right to privacy, our right to health care, our right to be able to actually have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in this country. And they see the South as a threat. And that is the reason why some of the worst voter suppression tactics we see are in the South.
312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, call in and text line. Those who were ready to concede the midterm elections, are you interested in revisiting that at this juncture? I think you should be. I'm not saying it's a fait accompli. In fact, I'm saying quite the opposite. I still think Republicans are in the underdog role in the House in particular, but these redistricting results, as well as that Supreme Court decision, have materially changed the balance of power. And the betting markets reflected, because it's obvious that the neo-Marxist Party's chances have diminished. And this is why they're going Jim Crow 2.0, is because they have to try to whip voters into a frenzy. You know, when reason won't win the day, not that this is their particular strong suit, you go with inducement of hysteria. You go with mania. You can't allow people to think through these things logically. You have to get them focused on a boogeyman that they must slay in order to save our democracy, because our rights are being taken away from us somehow, some way. Hakeem Jeffries, the trash-talking House Minority Leader, who may talk himself right into maintaining his position as a minority leader. Well, actually, if he loses, I don't think he'll maintain his position, but he'll maintain his membership in the minority.
And a new generation of Americans have to show up, stand up, speak up, fight, get into good trouble to usher in an era of progress. We went from the progress of emancipation to the backlash of Jim Crow, the progress of the civil rights movement to the backlash of mass incarceration, the progress of electing Barack Obama to the backlash that has resulted in the elevation of Donald Trump, MAGA extremism, and this behavior that we're seeing coming out of the Supreme Court of the United States to throw the American South back into the Jim Crow era. So it's going to take an all-hands-on-deck effort. And
remapping and the Callis decision is, separate water fountains are right around the corner. Give me a break. Give me a break. This is all they got, though. And just on the Virginia case, I mentioned former Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli detailed this for us a few weeks ago, so you had the heads up on Chicago's Morning Answer of what was to come. And don't forget the Virginia State Supreme Court is 4-3 Republican majority, but it was essentially a party line vote, if you will, but the legal reasoning is very strong for the majority because it's set forward in the Virginia Constitution, and they violated it, the strictures of their state constitution, and it's not close. Virginia's constitution gives redistricting to a bipartisan commission. Proposed amendments have to go through the legislature twice with an election in between, giving voters another chance to be heard on constitutional rewrites. In the case the Supreme Court ruled upon on Friday, state lawmakers first approved the gerrymandering amendment on October 31st, shortly before Election Day. By that date, as the justice writing for the majority notes, more than 1.3 million votes had been cast, which was approximately 40% of the total vote for that election cycle. The idea this satisfied the requirement for an intervening election would be unprecedented. Under this theory, as the justice notes, Virginians who cast early ballots in 2025, something that the left champions, right, hoist by their own petard here, Virginians who cast early ballots in 2025 under the theory they're now advancing, quote, unknowingly forfeited their constitutionally protected opportunity to vote for or against delegates who favor or disfavor amending the Constitution. Since that makes no sense, the court ruled that the gerrymandering amendment wasn't properly proposed, and so the April referendum is void. It really is straightforward, and it's exactly what Ken Cuccinelli laid out a few weeks back on this show. But again, that sort of sober review of the facts is not something that the left is going to be encouraging. And frankly, probably something that conservatives won't be talking about enough. They should be, as opposed to worrying about spiking the football and what the balance of power is. We should be explainers, what occurred and why it occurred and why it's legitimate and why the left's position was legitimate on the front end, illegitimate in the front end, illegitimate in the middle, and illegitimate at the end. And so now they're papering over it with this Jim Crow 2.0 rap and this phony moral indignation of well-documented fraudsters who, frankly, shouldn't be officers of the court, like attorney Mark Elias, who was essentially the facilitator of the Russian collusion hoax.
Look, in the end, here's why I'm angry. In the end, Democrats are still going to take control of the House. Okay? That's the good news, right? In the end, I think Democrats still could win the Senate. In the end, politics will be politics. But the reason why I am so angry is because the Supreme Court of the United States chose to strike down a law that was passed in 1965 that Congress was in dialogue with the court over in the 1970s and 1980s. And for the last 40 years, we have lived under a set of principles that all players have accepted as a fair, level playing field. And then a group of white Louisianans decided to challenge a map, and the U.S. Supreme Court ordered the parties to argue a case that none of the parties wanted, which was whether the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act was still in effect under the right test. And then the parties did it. And they chose to issue an opinion in the middle of May while primaries were going on. And then the U.S. Supreme Court thought, you know what? Sure, we let black voters wait 2 years and vote under illegal maps, but God forbid these white voters have to do the same in Louisiana. That would be a constitutional crisis. And against all of that backdrop, have we learned nothing? I mean, have we learned nothing? Has the broader legal community not learned anything? Other than the civil rights groups, have people not learned that when you do this to black voters, it turns out bad for democracy for everybody? So yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry because of the appalling silence that's going on right now around this case and the aftermath.
Yeah, he is a complete bottom feeder. He's a disgusting human being, as all these race hustlers are, really. But especially Elias, because he knows what he's saying is untrue. It doesn't matter. It's just a scam. It's the old Roe is settled law, so it can't be revisited, even though it was a terribly decided decision. It was settled. Says who? We've been debating it every year until Dobbs, and we're still debating it, and we will still debate it. But we were debating it every year since 1973 up to Dobbs, and we're still debating it. What do you mean it's settled? It's not settled. It's bad law. It's a terrible opinion by Blackmun. And so the 60 years of racist maps that are violative of the norms for map making the Supreme Court has promulgated, compactness, contiguousness, respect for municipal borders, has been wrong, just like race quotas were wrong. And the Harvard admissions case addressed that. We've had a bad law and bad judicial decisions, including at the Supreme Court level, many times throughout our history. It took 56 years to overturn separate but equal. The terribly decided Plessy v. Ferguson case that was overturned by Brown v. Board of Education. This is not unprecedented in our history. You have fallible human beings in the Supreme Court that sometimes are captured by the time in which they live rather than the principles they said they would abide. And it takes a long time to get a case that another court will take up to address the wrong that was committed. This is not new. And by the way, I should hasten to mention, and what was the reaction from the neo-Marxists after this Virginia Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court decision on the map? It wasn't just the Jim Crow 2.0 stories all weekend that there is a idea afoot to declare the existing redistricting commission unconstitutional. I so declare, force all seven sitting Supreme Court justices out via reducing the retirement age from mandatory retirement age for Supreme Court in Virginia 75, reduce it to 54, and then with the justices out of the way and the commission out of the way, they can ram through the map that they rammed through in that referendum. I mean, do you get a sense of the naked pursuit of power that these revolutionary leftists have committed themselves to? I don't think this is going to go anywhere because it's just too obvious. It's too on the nose. But this is the attitude of so many on the left. We'll just get rid of everybody. We'll rewrite the rules ex post facto, get rid of everybody, and we'll get what we want. However, we get it because the ends justify the means. And they're the saviors of our democracy. These are a bunch of revolutionary thugs. Lawless revolutionary thugs. And even if they don't pursue this against the Virginia State Supreme Court, even to suggest it is revealing, isn't it? By the way, the Cook and the justices, they're all 54 to 70 are the ages, which is why they conveniently came up with that number. I mean, it's wild. By the way, the Cook report basically has House and Senate lean and solid Democrat and Republican, even with the toss of 18 seats. So outcome still very much hangs in the balance. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It was 1:30 this morning in Omaha when they landed. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The passengers of the U.S. government flew to Nebraska to be quarantined up to 42 days after being evacuated from the cruise ship stricken by a hantavirus outbreak that left 3 people dead. Other passengers being flown to other countries.
As of this morning, a French passenger and American passenger have tested positive. Another American currently has mild symptoms. These 17 Americans are now back on U.S. soil as of this morning. 2 of them traveled in the plane's biocontainment unit. Each individual will undergo clinical assessment and receive care based on their conditions. That's according to the Department of Health and Human Services.
Fox's Alex Hogan, a British national who lives in the U.S., was also on the flight and will be quarantined. Now the conflict with Iran. President Trump has rejected its counterproposal as totally unacceptable, adding on Truth Social, for years the Iranians have laughed at our now great again country, and they'll be laughing no longer. U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matt Whitaker tells Fox.
Next steps are certainly to continue to negotiate. You know, President Trump is a deal maker. He's a peacemaker.
Reuters reports that a spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry claimed the response was not excessive and that the United States continues to have unreasonable demands. The demands for the United States are very clear, that Iran will never have a nuclear program and pursue a nuclear weapon. The president has given the Iranians 2 options: to sign on the dotted line or the war could resume.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. One of 2 American soldiers who went missing in Morocco more than a week ago has been found dead.
The remains of Kendrick Lamont Key, a 27-year-old Army first lieutenant, were located by a Moroccan military search team. The body was found in Atlantic Ocean waters. Key was one of 2 soldiers reported missing May 2nd during a military exercise.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. The search continues for that other soldier. It is believed they fell off a cliff while on a recreational hike. America's listening to Fox News.
44 degrees in Chicago. 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect a high later today of 58. 3 are dead following a wrong-way crash in the western suburbs. State police say the accident happened yesterday when a wrong-way driver slammed into another vehicle head-on on I-88 in Aurora. The University of Illinois resuming final exams after a cyber attack involving Canvas and Instructure.
I was actually in the middle of one of my final exams when abruptly the screen shut down, and I was unable to do anything.
All exams originally scheduled for Friday did take place yesterday. A Chicago priest is accused of inappropriate conversations and communications with minors and adult women. Cardinal Blaise Cupich sent a letter to St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Parish announcing the Reverend Jose Molina has been removed. Authorities are investigating after 1 teen was killed and 2 others were wounded in a shooting in northwest Indiana.
Just tons of kids running all over the yard, down the street, cars couldn't get out, and it was just chaos.
Porter County Sheriff's Office says shots were fired during a prom party at a home near Michigan City. Cubs shut out for the 2nd day in a row with a loss to the Rangers. White Sox came back to beat the Mariners 2-1. The news, a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair license contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560. The
Scott
Answer.
Jennings doesn't see the joke.
Jimmy Kimmel gave this mock dinner speech.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Laughing at that they were. Do you get it? Folks, they aren't hiding it, and they aren't sorry about it either.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Life is full of challenges, but you don't have to face them alone. At InTouch.org, you'll find powerful sermons from Dr. Charles Stanley, daily devotionals, and resources designed to strengthen your faith and bring hope into everyday life. Whether you're searching for encouragement, biblical wisdom, or practical guidance, InTouch.org is here to help you grow closer to God. Discover truth that speaks to your heart. Visit InTouch.org today. That's InTouch.org. Thanks.
Now, this 25th anniversary of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation remains committed to honoring the heroes shaped by that day. Heroes like NYPD Detective Victor Vargas, a U.S. Air Force veteran who died from pancreatic cancer after serving in the World Trade Center recovery efforts. Tunnel to Towers honored Detective Vargas by paying off the family's mortgage. You can donate $11 a month, and you can amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
If you're considering investing in precious metals, don't wait. The Iranian conflict seems to be nearing an end, and the time is now to position your retirement for massive growth. Advantage Gold is America's #1 precious metals company, and they want to send you a free gold and silver investor guide valued at $49 when you call 800-900-8000. Plus, you'll get a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Our specialists can help you open a new account or transfer funds from an existing IRA, tax and penalty free, and show you how a gold-backed IRA can put real, tangible assets into your retirement portfolio. Markets react to news cycles, but gold has maintained its value through inflation, volatility, and economic uncertainty. When the purchasing power of the dollar declines, that's when investors turn to gold and silver. Make your move now. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results may vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
.607. Let's take a look at the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Some problems out there this morning as we begin our morning commute. Tri-State southbound off-ramp to westbound I-190 is solid already into the big airport. Things are really slow. Inbound 57, 115th up through 103rd. And the Dan Ryan drag continues. Slow inbound 95th up through 87. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now a check of your Monday forecast.
Today will be mostly sunny and cool with a high of 59. Tonight, expect clear skies early, followed by increasing clouds. It'll be chilly with a low of 42. Tomorrow will be cloudy, breezy, and warmer with a couple of showers around, mainly late in the day, and a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Heard weekday mornings at 11 on AM 560, The Answer. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I don't know yet if Spencer Pratt can be the next mayor of L.A., can be that candidate I've been talking about generically for the last couple of years. Somewhere in some big blue city that's disintegrating, somebody is going to win an election that they shouldn't win. Somebody is going to tap into the revolt bubbling below the surface in such a way that it makes it comfortable for enough people, even if their politics is somewhat desperate, to coalesce around that candidate and pull off an upset, because people are tired of living the way that so many of them are living in big blue city America. And the all roads lead to Trump argument, the blame shifting that's offered by these big blue city neo-Marxists, I think is wearing thin, not everywhere, but perhaps in enough quarters for this surprise to take place. And Spencer Pratt is doing a better job than anybody's done to date in tapping into that. And the angle he's taking is pretty good, pretty simple. I mean, you see some of the memes, basically other people are sort of echoing what he's putting out in different and entertaining ways, but very straightforward, very simple. I saw one in response to one of the many ads and songs. He's going to have to release a Spencer Pratt campaign album in the near term because there are so many ditties surrounding his candidacy. But one of the memes was, they burned down his house, vote Pratt. Yeah. As good a reason as any. As a better reason than any than Karen Basudra or Nithya Raman is offering. Pratt was on the All In podcast, with all the tech impresarios. And this is how he described himself and essentially the value proposition of his candidacy. It's always good to have one, something else a lot of candidates could learn from this guy.
I keep trying to tell everyone that, they try to put me in a box. I didn't run to be a political party. I didn't run to be a politician. I ran because I experienced what city leadership failure at the ultimate level is. That's why I stepped up. That's what cuts through. So the media and everyone wants to jump on and be like, oh, Spencer's our guy. No, I'm the citizen. I'm the angry taxpayer. You can be a Democrat and love me. You can be a Republican and love me. The only people that don't love me are communists and socialists, and I don't want them.
Mr. Smith goes to Sacramento? Well, no, he's not running for governor. Mr. Smith goes to the L.A. mayor's office, I should say. 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com answer line and text line. Mr. Smith for the mayor of L.A. What do you think? The angry taxpayer. Something else he said in that All In podcast interview when he was asked about how he does debate prep after his, by all accounts, resounding victory in the debate last week, where he really had Karen Bass and Nithya Raman bailing water. I mean, they're just not prepared to think critically, speak like a human being. They are not quick on their feet. He is everything they are not. And the contrast is stark. But this is another for you kids out there who want to be candidates someday.
They don't want me to get into the machine. So every interview I do, unlike these politicians, it's opposition. It's arguing. When these, Mayor Bass or Councilman Raman talk to the media, they can just lie, and then the media people go, oh, thank you, Mayor Bass, thank you, Councilman. If I say anything, I got to have who was there, what they were wearing, what they have for breakfast. I have to have my information so fact-based and be bulletproof to beat this machine that I debate. All I do is debate people all day long.
You're held to a higher standard.
Exactly.
You're challenged all day.
And all I live in is facts and the truth.
Mm-hmm. He's got to be bulletproof. He's got to know his stuff. He's got to be ready to go. And he's not thinking about what to say. He's bringing the knowledge he's acquired and the attitude that he genuinely has to the table to deliver in the moment. It's very different. Trying to remember what to say or trying to convey a point to what I'm doing. And one of the things he's doing, as I'm sure you've seen on making the rounds on social media, very simple. It's sort of the same thing Nick Shirley is doing, for example. Keep it very straightforward. What does Nick Shirley do? I've got these lists of all these so-called hospice providers in L.A. I'm going to go knock on the door and see if anybody's there, see if it looks like a real business. I've got their billing accounts. I've got some profile on their ownership. Same thing Luke Rosiak, investigative reporter, did for the Daily Wire. We were talking about his expose yesterday. Last week, I should say. What's Spencer Pratt doing? Filming places around L.A. and that don't work. Filming the devastation that has been inflicted upon L.A. residents, whether it's the malfeasance in terms of the response to the Palisades fire, or it's the general homelessness and lawlessness on the streets, or something as simple as this, the 6th Street Bridge.
I'm Spencer Pratt. We're here at the 6th Street Bridge in downtown Los Angeles. It is beautiful, if only you could see it. But all the lights have been allowed to be stolen from our taxpayer money because Mayor Basura and Nithya Raman and her DSA City Council let criminals run the streets. But don't worry, Mayor Basura is planning to take $200 million of our tax money to get solar power lights. Oh, because the criminals won't steal those. But don't worry, Nithya Raman has suggested putting cages around the lights. That's right, cages. That'll stop them. So if you're sick of your tax money getting burned by these criminals, you better vote for Mayor Pratt. The ballots drop May 4th. Turn them in. Go get your grandma to vote. Get everyone to vote. We're going to get rid of the DSA. We're going to get rid of Mayor Basura. And we're going to save L.A. so we can see this beautiful city.
Well, one thing's clear at this juncture. You know, the machine, such as it is, essentially the government unions and the politicians they control, the apparatchiks they elevate, like Karen Basura or BLM Brandon, Zoran Mamdani, the DSA, the public sector unions, they're, that blob. They will try to ignore you because they have such institutional advantage, such overwhelming resources. Spencer Pratt, I know some people remember him as a reality star, but particularly after his $3 million house burned down, this is not a guy like the real estate developer that ran against Karen Basura 4 years ago, Rick Caruso, who's some sort of billionaire. He can't self-finance this campaign. So it's very different. And by the way, just as a point of order in terms of people that poo-poo this and say, pun intended, talking about the streets of L.A., that Pratt can't win. It's L.A. Well, I mean, Rick Caruso is a very different candidate. Got 44% of the vote against Basura 4 years ago. And this is a very different candidate. This is a very different candidacy. It's a very different context after the fire, after the embarrassment of Basura being in Ghana during the fire. All that's transpired. The continued disintegration of the city. And it's not just Pratt that's coming up to meet the moment. It's the energy behind him. Very interesting. I would keep a close eye on this. There's a lot to learn, win, lose, or draw. But back to my point, they can no longer ignore him. Not after the attention that he's generated and the debate performance he had. So now it's time to hit him. Now they have to treat him like he is, which is a real threat. So the AFL-CIO and the government unions, I repeat myself, got together and came up with this hit ad. Listen to this. from our perspective, conservative perspective, listening to this, or just a commonsensical perspective, you almost wonder. I was wondering when I'm watching this, is this a hit ad or an endorsement ad? But that should give you pause.
Republican Spencer Pratt is the last thing Los Angeles needs for mayor. Pratt opposes using taxpayer money to build brand new houses for our unhoused neighbors, saying it's time for the homeless to get help or get out. Pratt thinks LA needs thousands more police officers rather than more social workers, and Republican Spencer Pratt thinks public employee unions should have less power, not more. LA is on the right track and needs to stay the course. Vote no on Republican Spencer Pratt.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know LA well enough to know. I'd love to see some numbers on like right track, wrong track, to see if the AFL-CIO, all those government union goons that are usually decent at the political operative business, could possibly be that tone deaf. I would think a majority of LA residents, Angelinos, think the city's on the wrong track, but maybe not in the numbers that we might otherwise think. Just like the other week, I mentioned a Harvard-Harris poll that found Brandon Johnson's numbers are not nearly as underwater as you might think they were, particularly after that half-assed Crane survey from a year earlier that had his approval rating at 6% or whatever. Not nearly as underwater as you might think. So you have to remember the landscape on which you're operating. But that's just a very interesting approach to me. The Republican, I'm surprised Trump wasn't mentioned. The Republican, that's the way they're going to, you can't vote for a Republican. You can't vote for a Trump supporter. The Trump attachment will come. But the thing that they have missed, the opportunity they've missed, I'm talking about the blob, the Marxist blob that controls L.A. Well, they missed the opportunity to, not to be graphic, but sort of a political saying, to strangle the baby in the crib. They needed to get him before he established his own brand, but they didn't take him seriously. Now he's on All In, CBS This Morning. They're comparing him to Mamdani, not that his politics are the same, but in terms of the quote-unquote it factor and the excitement he's generating. And so now he's in a much better position to overcome any of the customary, you can't vote for a Republican, he's MAGA extremist, all that business. Not to mention, I think that label's losing some currency over the last, as it's been overused over the last decade and misapplied. So I think they've got a problem on their hands, the powers that be in L.A. Chris in Rogers Park.
Did Spencer Pratt just say that as a white man, he has to work 10 times as hard as a woman of color to get the job?
Yeah, right. His debate prep comment where he gets challenged and they just get, oh, thank you so much for deigning to talk to us from the local press. Yeah, thanks for the call, Chris. Tina and Joliet.
Hey, good morning. I just want to point out how feckless the Illinois GOP is, that the most exciting race that we're talking about in Illinois is Spencer Pratt's race in L.A.
100%.
We don't have any of that here. Juxtapose his campaign videos with what we've seen here, with candidates in front of the bean and slapping ketchup packets out of each other's hands. It's ridiculous. And, one of the best points Spencer Pratt has made is we've heard for 30 years that we're in late stage capitalism. And the truth of the matter is, this is what socialism has given us. That's why our cities are deteriorating. That point needs to be hammered home constantly. We've got to go back. This isn't capitalism. We're not failing. We're not living with crime and drugs and failing cities because of capitalism. This is what democratic policies, socialism has brought us.
Thanks for the call, Tina. You're right. And the other thing is Spencer Pratt is having fun. And this is what he had to say to CBS Mornings about the Mamdani comparison.
The one thing I connect with is I know he promised his voters, like, the subway will be free. And I'm promising my voters the metro buses, the metro trains, they will be free from urine, feces, stabbing, attacks. So that's kind of similar. We both had free things for public transportation. But, I think he connected with people because they felt like change. They wanted change. That message would never connect here because we've already been doing the socialist experiment pretty much for 6+ years, and it's failed here in Los Angeles. So I think my message is why it's resonating on social media is it's the truth. It's authentic. It's from my heart. I didn't want to be a politician. I'm standing in what happened because of failed politicians. That's why I'm here. I don't want to be. I want to go in and change LA so that this never happens to anybody. A lot of people are like, oh, he only cares about Palisades. This isn't coming back for a long time. No, I'm fighting for other communities. This is going to happen to a lot of people in the next 4 years. There's less firefighters now than January 7th. There's 45 less firefighters. We are not prepared. Don't listen to Mayor Bass if you live in the Hollywood Hills, Sunland, Tahunga, Bel Air, the Valley. The dead brush is already growing back in the Palisades. Everyone is in danger, not to mention forget fire danger. We're not ready for a mass casualty event if there was an earthquake. We don't even have a helicopter. We don't have one Chinook that could come in and take 40 people if there was an earthquake and the freeway crashed and all these people need to be rescued. We don't have a plan for this. We are so underprepared for everything. So I'm excited, actually, because once you get in this, you're like, oh, my God, this is a red alert. Like, let's change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll give you another comparison, too, to Pratt. Not in exactly the same way, but some similar aspects to it. He is on offense, and he's got his opponents on defense, backpedaling. And he's done so in such a way that others are jumping in and essentially forcing Karen Basura and Nithya Raman to backpedal as well from the things they've done and the positions they previously had. It's wild. For example, Nithya Raman was on CNN. This is not a question you want to be answering when you're running for a big city, even if even if it's 3-1 your party, and you've got some insurgent you're dealing with. So the numbers are with you if you can make it to the runoff, but you don't want to be answering this question.
So you no longer believe in defunding the police?
No.
And what caused you to change your mind?
I think we need to be able to ensure that the city can respond to calls for service, and we have to make sure that we are able to respond to calls for help around public safety issues. And I think in order to do that at this moment with our response system, we need to be able to maintain the size of our police force.
Right, because Nithya Raman previously posted on X, there is no more urgent or possible moment to end the racial, environmental, and moral crisis that is homelessness in L.A. Our leaders have finally been forced to listen. The path is not complicated. Fund services, fund housing, fund care, defund the police. But nope, I don't believe that anymore. Sounds like you believed it passionately, but not anymore. Okay. Man. And Karen Bass is out saying the Pacific Palisades fire, hey, the buck stops with me, but we have to acknowledge climate change. Really? That's your out? Even the New York Times is declaring climate change dead. Not Karen Bass. So either the AFL-CIO and their, associated government union goons are finally attuned to what's going on, and they know the constituency they need to deliver for Bass, probably in a runoff. And you've got a big enough cohort of the electorate that has been properly ideologically entranced, such as no common sense shall be heard. Maybe. Or maybe they are in heap big trouble. And it just keeps going. Like I said, I mean, I got to play some of the ditties. California Freedom off of California Dreamin'.
Our governor's a clown. So's the mayor of LA. Stupid mayor of LA. Corruption at the top. Every kid's on display. All
something else about that, too. I mean, as much as he is torching, no pun intended, Karen Bass and her record, and Nithya Raman for that matter, there is an optimistic streak here. This is one of the messages of Pratt is L.A. is worth saving. He's not just, describing L.A. as this dystopian hellhole. I mean, he is describing it that way, but he's saying, like he does with the video at the 6th Street Bridge, this is what is going on, but I'm going to fix it. It's, make L.A. great again. His version of it. L.A. is worth saving. Yeah, and there's a rap song, too, California Fried.
Yo, Spencer Pratt, heels to the streets.
These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth.
It's all deceit. California pride. Hope stays a scam. Homeless funds vanish. They don't give a damn. California pride. Hope stays a scam. Homeless funds vanish. They don't give a damn. California pride. Hope stays a scam. Homeless funds vanish. They don't give a damn. California pride. Hope stays a scam. Homeless funds vanish. They don't give a damn. It's Pratt, baby. The truth hurts. Clean it up or watch it burn.
I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck.
Man, I love it. And of course, I played this last week. This is very catchy. Latinos for Pratt.
She was saying bye-bye. Look where she left.
Well, June 2nd is the primary election. Pratt said he thinks he's going to win with 50% plus one of the vote in the primary. I don't know about that. But I think he's going to be in the runoff the way this is tracking. It's only 3 weeks away. So, as he says, let's make it a Pratt summer.
Turns out it's a lot easier to fight fires when there's water in the reservoirs. We're even allowed to arrest criminals now, with handcuffs and everything.
I don't have to wonder anymore whether I just stepped in human shit or dog shit, so that's nice.
I only see needles in the hospital now. Who knew it could be this way?
I love going to the park now that it's not an open drug market.
Okay, who here is willing to admit that common sense actually turned out to be good?
I feel safe walking her. She's definitely having a Pratt summer.
Who's having a Pratt summer?
You're just hoping L.A. has a Pratt summer. All right, let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
43 degrees this morning, sunshine in our QC Kinetics newsroom, but only a high of 58. Later today, Iran's response to a U.S. proposal to end the war is drawing the ire of President Trump. In a Sunday posting, Trump saying he's read the response from so-called representatives from Iran and called it unacceptable. Americans on board the Hantavirus cruise ship touched down in Nebraska after an overnight flight.
One person has tested positive for the virus, but so far isn't showing any symptoms. They were all evacuated with about 100 others from the ship, where 3 people died from the hantavirus. The patients will be monitored by a CDC team and quarantined for several weeks. Another passenger was said to be developing symptoms on their way home to France. Since anchoring near Spain's Canary Islands weeks ago, dozens of patients were evacuated from the ship. Evacuations are expected to continue until Monday. Passengers being sent home were grouped by nationality and then flown to their home countries for evaluation. The World Health Organization says the risk to the public is still very low.
Fox's Marianne Raftery, at least one American has tested positive. 3 are dead following a wrong-way crash in the western suburbs. State police say the accident happened early yesterday when a wrong-way driver slammed into another vehicle head-on along I-88 in Aurora. A church's front facade partially collapsed during Sunday Mass on the city's south side. The collapse happened around 10:45 a.m. at Sacred Heart Church in the Morgan Park neighborhood. Chicago Alderman Matt O'Shea says city and private inspectors are conducting safety inspections. The mayor of Stinkney, Jeff Wallach, who also once served as a longtime police officer in that village, has died. The village is not giving details at this moment on Wallach's death. Cubs shut out by the Rangers. White Sox beat the Mariners, and the Bulls celebrating, they say, after landing the 4th overall pick from yesterday's NBA draft lottery. The news, a service of American Beam and Steel Structural Repair, licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online. Schedule that consultation directly with the owner, Mark, at American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Firago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Since the battle with Iran began on February 28th, there have been so many reports of, quote, deals with the rump regime atop the ruins of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, it seems almost silly to respond to another one. But I trust Israeli journalist Amit Segal. On Wednesday, Segal summed up the supposed framework. The most salient part is said to include, and I quote, negotiations are still underway on the duration of the Iranian enrichment freeze. 3 sources said the freeze would last at least 12 years. One source estimated the final outcome would be 15 years. End of quote. That, in and of itself, makes this a terrible proposed deal, one that would draw fierce criticism from the GOP's Iran hawks who want President Trump to finish the job, no enrichment of uranium, period, and finish the job in dramatic fashion. President Trump doesn't surrender leverage. He's got it. We have to hope he uses every ounce of it.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Food, fuel, jobs. It all starts with homegrown Illinois corn. Driving a $148 billion economic impact, corn supports thousands of jobs and strengthens communities across our state. It's advancing cleaner burning biofuels, expanding plant-based manufacturing, and growing a renewable economy. Illinois corn isn't just an agricultural success, it's a strategic investment in energy, innovation, and economic growth. See what's possible at ilcorn.org.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
640. Let's get an update on the roads this morning. Team Hochberg Traffic Center Time, a service of Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then you find a deal that actually feels like a win. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get more, pay less. It's a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises. Find it in the same place you've always found straightforward prices, exclusively at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Traveling on the outbound Kennedy at accident, 2 left lanes blocked. It's outbound between the Circle and Ogden Avenue this morning. It's a bit of a mess right downtown. And traveling on the Dan Ryan, an accident reported. Local lanes eastbound right at 63rd. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your Monday forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Sunny today, high 58, increasing clouds overnight, and a low of 41.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I want to continue on this Spencer Pratt candidacy, broaden it a little bit, but it's really illustrative of, I think, a watershed moment in politics, particularly in big blue cities. And maybe in terms of what the left is going to need to do to be competitive, even where they have a numerical advantage. And as we have seen, some of those numerical advantages were rigged because of counting non-citizens of the census, because of gerrymandered maps, and so on and so forth. But it's going to be very interesting to see if the very sort of stodgy, there's nothing to see here while the fireworks factory is blowing up behind you approach that the AFL-CIO took with their hit ad, LA's on the right track. Can you imagine? Spencer Pratt doesn't want to build housing for the homeless at $250,000 a bed. Can you imagine? Can you imagine he wants to hire more police? Isn't that terrible? It can be very interesting to see if they can get away with that one more time with the kind of energy and enthusiasm that is behind Pratt right now. Maybe they can. But I think that's going the way of the dodo bird. And so are things like this. The celebrity endorsement. I mean, this has been diminishing for a while in terms of import and impact. But it comes across as, at least to me, as terribly anachronistic. Magic Johnson endorsing Karen Bass. And, you know, she's off stage left, and then she's brought on to have a organic conversation with Magic.
The reason I'm supporting Mayor Bass, first of all, I go back with her probably 30 years. She sustained the first ever consecutive decrease in homelessness. Homicide rate is down. New housing units, 40,000. I mean, she's doing a tremendous job. Mayor Bass has to have a second term, and I'm excited to say that.
All right.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Oh, are you here?
The mayor.
Appreciate that.
Well, you know, listen, you took on a tough job here, and you've done a fabulous job. And all of us appreciate your efforts and what you're doing, and we look forward to helping you continue your mission and the things that you have in store, your vision for the city. And I'm on board. You just tell me what I need to do.
Well, you know what, Magic? You are so important to Los Angeles. When people think of Los Angeles, they think of Magic Johnson. You are such a bright light to our city. You've always stood with me. We have stood together, accomplishing great things for Los Angeles, and I look forward to all that we can do.
Well, thank you. Creating jobs
yes.
for the people here in Los Angeles. That's what she's doing. Amazing.
312-642-5600 to give us alphawealthgroup.com. Call in a text line if you want to address the thesis that I offered about that sort of thing, like the FL-CIO ad. It may be enough to get Karen Basura across the finish line one more time, but it's going away, and not just for Bass, for all these old-time Reds like her. I'm not saying that these neo-Marxists are going away. They're not. But that approach is not going to fly in very many places for very much longer. And two, I mean, against the backdrop of what's actually happening in L.A., and as they're saying, there's nothing to see here, L.A.'s on the right track. You have an L.A. councilwoman not named Nithya Raman, but with the same position she has, Hugo Soto Martinez, who wants to allow illegal aliens to vote in local elections. Of course, that's maybe the only thing that saves Bass.
Recognize that we have folks living in this country who've been here 20 years. They've started a family. They pay their taxes. Many of them are homeowners. But they don't have a say over the policies that affect their children and their families on any given day. The motion only asks to seek to explore whether we want to head in that direction. I think the details of who's going to be involved, how we're going to do it, all that needs to get sussed out.
And, I mean, that's just fodder for Pratt. He's going to take that and has taken that and just run with it. They're just shoving it down your throat. And what he said about the debate, his debate performance that has gotten so much attention, is right on the mark.
It finally felt like truth was forced onto power. And after the debate, this high school kid that was in the crowd, he came up and he shook my hand. He couldn't have been older than 14 years old. He said, "Thank you, sir, so much for being the only one up there speaking the truth. You can tell when somebody's telling the truth." And I said, "Thank you, God," because that was my only goal, is to just be true and authentic. People are tired with politicians lying about what we see every day in L.A.
And if Pratt doesn't win,
if I don't win, I can always say, yep, now you have communists. The city's destroyed. Good luck, everybody. I tried. I warned you. I told you what I found out and learned in a year of doing this all day long, every day, talking to people in the federal government, people in the IRS, criminal investigation, everything I've learned. I'm telling you, this is a red alert. And if you want to choose to go that way, then I can end up moving to Bentonville one day and looking back and saying, yeah, I tried to save LA. It's done.
That's sort of what I felt like after I ran. But I stayed for another decade. I was a slow learner. Text from 847, how many decades before we get an election this entertaining here? As soon as I come back and run. That's, as far as I can tell, when that'll happen, based on what I see out there. Michael, Southside.
Dan, good morning. And I was very touched by, last week's show about your mother. So best wishes to you and your family.
Thank you.
Did Karen Bass not learn anything from Kamala Harris's use of celebrities 2 years ago?
Right. Yeah. It comes across as really tin ear, doesn't it? Thanks for the call, Michael. I just don't think that has any currency. I wasn't going to vote for Karen Basura, but now that Magic endorsed her, she can't be all bad. Magic says she's built 40,000 housing units, although it's not my house or one of my 5,000 neighbors' houses in Pacific Palisades that hasn't been rebuilt. That's the AFL-CIO ad. Listen to, it's the same thing. Don't believe your lying eyes. And they get away with it. They get away with it with the beautiful lies instead of the uncomfortable truths. But the way Pratt is telling those uncomfortable truths with specificity, with video evidence, with an energy that says we can save this, but we have to address this. And I know this, I see the same things you see. And I'm not an ideological guy. I'm a commonsensical guy. I'm a solutionist. There's no question that's the appeal. And also, the people in power are deserving of ridicule. And the more ridicule they endure, the more incapable they appear. Isn't that interesting? What he's doing is essentially exposing the emperors as having no clothes. Ron, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I agree with you about those celebrity endorsements, man. That's just a waste of time and silly. But Dan, for him to say that she's doing a great job, these people try to tell you what you see doesn't exist. The things, the quality of your life, what you look around and see. Yeah, I just don't get it. Doesn't have any credibility to say that garbage, man. So it just gets you upset. So, but hopefully people will make the right decisions based on the facts. Have a good one, Dan.
Thanks for the call. Thanks for the call, Ron. It happened across the pond, too, and more is coming. I say that there's this attitude in the West that's coming, even among places that have otherwise embraced a soft form of socialism, but aren't liking so much the consequences. As predicted on this show, which wasn't much of a prediction, but Dominic Green has his finger on the pulse. In the local elections, two-tier Keir Starmer and Labour Party was going to take a beating. Oh, and they took a beating. They took a beating. And it wasn't necessarily to the Conservative Party's benefit. It was to Nigel Farage's benefit, the third way. Because the Conservatives had so failed so recently, too, under Sunak. But what's going on in the UK is very similar to what's going on in big city America. Also, havens of soft socialism that will be tolerated. Lawlessness and violence and depravity in your face will not be. Not for long. A presenter for GB News who's quite entertaining, and the British accent makes it even more entertaining. Patrick Christus with the local election results for Labour.
What a night. Keir Starmer has got the kind of spanking that you'd expect to see in 50 Shades of Grey. As I speak, Labour has lost more than 1,300 seats, apparently. They have lost Wales for the first time in 100 years. The Labour First Minister in Wales lost her seat. People just didn't like 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, becoming a nation of sanctuary for the third world and terrible healthcare, did they? So there you go. Sunderland's gone. Newcastle's gone. They've lost control of Camden, they've lost Westminster, and I can't think why.
بالقوائم سوف نقوم بإرسال معلومات إضافية إليكم مباشرة. شكرا.
Amdar Zanatam Sayar, the Westminster Council, Amdar Housing Register System Rabudlaitam.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's because they kept advertising free stuff to foreigners who didn't speak our language, and people decided they didn't really fancy any more of that. In Birmingham, they've lost seats to this lot.
only one independent in those houses, that's Asim Khan. We don't want people who have been with the Labour Party previously, been campaigning against Ayub Khan, now standing as independents. No, we don't want people like that.
Gosh, Labour losing because of mass immigration of people from various different Muslim countries. I mean, why else might Labour have lost out in Birmingham?
Coming to the butchers with me. Door open. Rubbish everywhere. Oh, hello, sir. You work in the butchers, obviously, or are you just carrying around a sheep? Looks like a goat.
Yeah. Oh, it's the bin strike as well, isn't it? The bin strike everywhere. Labour has lost control of now, I think, it's 11 councils, including Tameside, a Labour stronghold, for 47 years.
And what had Keir Starmer said recently about, what Christus was talking about, which is the influx, the open borders, same as here, the influx, the approach of taking making no distinction between citizens and non-citizens, including non-citizens and especially non-citizens in the country illegally.
We must be defiant because the British Muslim community is not defined by this. It is defined by the success, the brilliance, and the creativity in rooms like this, by contribution that Muslims make to Britain's story and to our national life. That is how it's defined.
And it's fine to appreciate the contributions that different people make to your community, your country, people of all walks of life, and so on and so forth. But it's always the obsequious approach with the mascots of the moment the identitarians use. And they go so far, as we've seen here with Jayapal, AOC, Omar, pick one, anyone, Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, to attempt to rewrite history. You know, the UK would, I mean, he didn't exactly say this, but he came close. The UK was built by Muslims, just as America was built by Somalis. I mean, come on. Interestingly, once upon a time, not so long ago, Keir Starmer had this to say about a PM and a party that loses elections.
Shall we just remind ourselves of what Keir Starmer said before previous elections?
When you lose an election in a democracy, you deserve to. You don't look at the electorate and ask them, what were you thinking? You look at yourself and ask, what were we doing?
Well, yes, but those were empty words uttered at that point. There was not supposed to be any meaning attached to them. And so, writing in The Guardian about the election results, Keir Starmer, these election results don't mean tacking left or right, but delivering for the whole country. You know, he's properly chastened, but there's no indication of a course correction. Because they don't believe the words that they say in those moments when they're victorious and they're chastising the other party and they're casting themselves in this sort of phony, populist, civil, adult-oriented leadership capacity that they never fulfill. I mean, Keir Starmer could be the mayor of any of these big cities that are currently disintegrating in the United States, and vice versa. Karen Bass could be the PM of the UK, at least Labour Party PM. So could any of these other mayors. I mean, is Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, that much different than Mamdani? Not at all. Actually, maybe slightly right of Mamdani. That's how bad it is. It's very interesting because I think, as I said, that sort of old Soviet model is going away. But it doesn't mean that the neo-Marxist revolutionaries underneath them are going away. The AOCs and the Ayanna Presleys, they're not going away. But I think they have much less appeal. And there's the opportunity for, well, the Republican Party. But if the Republican Party can see its way fit to seize it, then you'll have Nigel Farage. You'll have a Spencer Pratt and candidates like them that will chart a third-way course. The one thing I agree that David Brooks said over the weekend is that sort of in 26 and particularly in 28, there's a vibe shift coming. I think that's right. And so it's up to thoughtful people to start trying to get a handle on it and corral it to drive it in a positive direction, because the perils are still afoot. It's 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
They could be quarantined in Nebraska up to 42 days. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The 17 Americans and British national who lives here landed early this morning in Omaha after being evacuated from the cruise ship that had a hantavirus outbreak. One tested positive. Another is showing symptoms. But acting CDC Director Jay Bhattacharya tells CNN State of the Union this is not like COVID.
And we don't want to treat it like COVID. We don't want to cause a public panic over this. We want to treat it with the hantavirus protocols that we're successful in containing outbreaks in the past.
Currently, 6 states are monitoring people who had recently traveled on the ship. The passengers who disembarked yesterday in the Spanish Canary Islands were sprayed with a disinfectant. They were met with personnel and protective gear.
Other passengers being flown to other countries, and one from France has symptoms that are worsening. Fox's Alex Hogan also reports
these symptoms could present as fever, muscle aches, headaches, and fatigue, although it can become deadly within about a week with a 35 to 40% mortality rate. 3 people have died since the outbreak began.
There's still no deal to end the Iran conflict. President Trump rejected a counterproposal.
Iran's state broadcaster posting details of its response, which President Trump called unacceptable. Quote, the necessity for the U.S. to pay war damages to Iran, recognition of Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, end of U.S. sanctions.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson is in Dubai the day after another ship was attacked as the U.S. keeps a blockade around Iran's ports.
In addition to that cargo ship being attacked yesterday here in the Emirates, the UAE was attacked for the 4th time in the past week after Iran launched a pair of drones here. The defense ministry says both were shot down.
The price of oil is up more than 2%. At the gas pump, no change today. AAA's national average for regular still $4.52 per gallon. It has spiked up in the conflict. Analyst Tribble Lundberg says prices could rise more with more demand.
It won't be as robust as usual because people can't buy as much because of the high prices. But it will rise. It always rises in spring and summer.
America's listening to Fox News. .43 degrees in Chicago and 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Mike Scott. In our QC Kinetics newsroom, city and state leaders are expected to push for the next Democrat National Convention to be held in Chicago. Today's site visit will include a tour of the United Center as well as other meetings to discuss Chicago's readiness. Other cities in consideration include frontrunner Atlanta, Boston, and Denver. A judge is expected to rule today on whether a special prosecutor may be needed to investigate alleged crimes tied to Operation Midway Blitz. Attorneys and some advocates say federal agents may have violated state law during their immigration crackdowns. They argue those agents have not been properly investigated. 3 are dead following a wrong-way crash in the western suburbs. State police say the accident happened early yesterday when a wrong-way driver slammed into another vehicle head-on along I-88 in Aurora. Cubs visit the Braves tomorrow night after getting blanked by Texas, while the Southsiders host the Royals tomorrow night after coming back to win the rubber match of their series with the Mariners, 2-1. The news is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems, protecting your home or business. AM 560 listeners get 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. A check of traffic coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher shares a scary stat.
74% of Americans, including 91% of Republicans and 70% of independents, say the U.S. is winning against Iran. Do you want to know what percentage of Democrats side with Iran? 40%. Nearly half of Democrats are cheering for Iran. Let that sink in.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer. WIND, Chicago.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Life is full of challenges, but you don't have to face them alone. At intouch.org, you'll find powerful sermons from Dr. Charles Stanley, daily devotionals, and resources designed to strengthen your faith and bring hope into your everyday life. Whether you're searching for encouragement, biblical wisdom, or practical guidance, intouch.org is here to help you grow closer to God. Discover truth that speaks to your heart. Visit intouch.org today. Thanks.
Born on America's darkest day, 9/11/01, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping American heroes ever since. Heroes like FDNY Lieutenant Edward J. McDonough Jr. McDonough served at Ground Zero. He later lost his life to a related cancer. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to honor his sacrifice by paying off the family's mortgage. Donate $11 a month, and you can amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
707. A check of the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Bishop Ford, as you're traveling on the outbound side, entirely shut down at this moment between 154th and 159th due to a bad accident with police on the scene. Outbound Dan Ryan gummed up because of an accident. Outbound side between Garfield and 63rd. And the Kennedy outbound all jammed up between the Circle and Ogden with an accident blocking 2 left lanes. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. In our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center, the latest forecast.
Today will be mostly sunny and cool with a high of 59. Tonight, expect clear skies early, followed by increasing clouds. It'll be chilly with a low of 42. Tomorrow will be cloudy, breezy, and warmer with a couple of showers around, mainly late in the day, and a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So President Trump rejected the Iranians' response to a proposed framework for a deal to end hostilities. Of course he did. The reporting is they demanded things like war reparations and sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, the unfreezing of seized assets. I mean, of course that's not going to happen. But we've been doing of course that's not going to be happen for 3 weeks now. Trump posting, I've just read the response from Iran's so-called representatives, quote unquote. I don't like it. Totally unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Oh, okay. Well, what are you going to do to accomplish the objectives you set forward, including obtaining the what he calls nuclear dust, the enriched uranium? Trump sat down for an extended interview with our friend Cheryl Atkinson for her program Full Measure. He was asked about that, and he said this.
Well, we'll get that at some point, whatever we want. We have it surveilled. I did a thing called Space Force, and they are watching that if somebody walked in, they can tell you his name, his address, the number of his badge. No, we have that very well surveilled. If anybody got near the place, we will know about it, and we'll blow them up.
And as we were talking about for much of last week, there are still other targets that have been identified that have not been taken out yet, and that could happen.
So is it accurate to say you think the combat operations are over and done, but there
No, I didn't say that. I said they are defeated, but that doesn't mean they're done. We could go in for 2 more weeks and do every single target. We have certain targets that we wanted to, and we've done probably 70% of them. But we have other targets that we could conceivably hit. But even if we didn't do that, that would just be final touches. But even if we didn't do that, it would take them many years to rebuild.
Bibi sat down for an interview with Major Garrett for 60 Minutes, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli PM. And essentially on the same question, is the war over? Bibi offered this.
I think it accomplished a great deal, but it's not over because there's still nuclear material, enriched uranium that has to be taken out of Iran. There's still enrichment sites that have to be dismantled. There's still proxies that Iran supports. There are ballistic missiles that they still want to produce. Now, we've degraded a lot of it, but all of that is still there, and there's work to be done.
How do you envision the highly enriched uranium will be removed from Iran?
You go in and you take it out.
With what? Special forces from Israel? Special forces from the United States?
Well, I'm not going to talk about military means, but what President Trump has said to me, I want to go in there. And I think it can be done physically. That's not the problem. If you have an agreement and you go in and you take it out, why not? That's the best way.
What if there isn't an agreement? Can it be taken out by force?
Well, you're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to dodge them because I'm not going to talk about our military possibilities, plans, or anything of the kind.
And I'm just trying to get at how long is it going to take to achieve that aim?
I'm not going to give a timetable to it, but I'm going to say that's a terrifically important
mission. Well, of course, this 3 weeks of dithering with the mullahs in Tehran has allowed the skeptics and naysayers to amplify their skepticism and naysaying. For example, Gregory Brew writing in Foreign Affairs, Iran has demonstrated that can close the Strait of Hormuz and keep it closed, even in the face of the full force of a global superpower. There is no returning to the status quo ante. Robert Kagan, Mr. Victoria Nuland of Harvard, checkmate in Iran. Washington can't reverse or control the consequences of losing this war. It's over. Lieutenant General Mark Hertling, who is a regular over at MSNBC, MS Now, USSR, whatever it is. The best we can do is a draw.
What I'll say is from about 3 weeks ago, there are many people saying, and I'm one of them, that the best we can achieve by this action in Iran is a draw. And every day that passes, if we go more toward military action, the same questions are out there. What are your end state? Are you just, what are your end states? What are you trying to do? Bully and intimidate? That hasn't worked yet. And again, I go back to the time aspect of this. All indicators are that, truthfully, Iran can outlast us with, as the CIA has said recently, months worth of new weapons, the ability to sustain time, institutions that are still holding up within Iran, whereas the president, again, I return to, wants immediate responses and urgent action. As I once heard an Iraqi general said, General, you may have the watch, but we have the time. And that's kind of the same situation we're facing with Iran.
For more on this, Stephen Bucci joins us. He served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me back as this conversation continues.
Yeah, so what say you to the Lieutenant General Hertlings, the Robert Kagans, the foreign affairs internationalists, to the skepticism you heard?
First of all, Mark Hertling's got a good gig going there with all of the liberal press, but it wasn't like he was known to be a strategic genius when he was in a Pentagon. So with respect, he finished as a lieutenant general, but most of what he says has been wrong ever since. But they keep paying him because his wrong conclusions are generally aimed at trying to tear down anything President Trump wants to do.
Yeah, wrong conclusions with the right targets. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to say that the best we could do against Iran would be a draw, and that they've got more stuff and can last longer than we can, is a ludicrous position to hold. And Kagan's worse. Kagan said, "Oh, we already lost. We're done. The Iranians win." Okay, if we just walk away and surrender, if we take the President Obama, President Biden view of negotiations with them, yeah, we probably would lose. I don't think there's a chance in heck that President Trump is going to ever accede to the demands that Iran is now ridiculously throwing back at him. They are hoping against hope. Look, I'm with you. I don't know why we were waiting 3 weeks. We should have given them a couple of days. When they didn't give up, we should have started bombing the snot out of them again. That is the only thing that the IRGC and the mullahs will understand. They are not good faith negotiating partners. Anybody who thinks they ever will be is, kind of a Pollyanna. We need to start hitting them and hitting them hard again. And until the Iranian people can rise up and kick these bums out, it's the answer, and we can help them do that. We don't have to send in our troops, but we have plenty of capability and plenty of intel and targets to hit that are still available. This idea that we can't do anything else. I mean, after all, CNN is saying bad things about the president. He can't last much longer. He'll have to collapse. Yeah, that's not happening.
Admiral William McRaven was on this week with Martha Raddatz, and his advice to the president, unsolicited, was that he should end the blockade as the means to get Iran to the negotiating table in some sort of good faith. I'm a little unclear how that would accomplish what he suggests, but he posed this question, sort of the old Reagan question. Are we better off than we were before this? Take a listen.
Yeah, I think what the American people have to ask themselves, Martha, is, are we better off now than we were before February 28th? And I think that's open for some serious debate. The fact is, before February 28th, the straits were open. You had not a moderate regime, but the regime, right now is much more hardline than before February 28th. And my guess is that they were moving towards an enrichment. I don't think they had a nuclear weapon. I don't think it was, coming about imminently. But the fact of the matter is, we're not really that much better off now than we were before February 28th. Yes, we have sunk their Navy. Yes, we have destroyed their Air Force. Yes, we have taken out a lot of their leadership. But I'm not sure we're a lot better off.
What do you think, Steve?
I think I have a lot of respect for Bill McRaven, a lot more than I do for Hertling, for sure. But it's look, I think he's wrong. Taking down the blockade now would be exactly what the Iranians want. They do this all the time. They push back when they really have very little means to push back, and they get everybody, if the gas price is going up, we better do something. What can we give them to mollify them? We can't give them anything to mollify them. They want to own international waters through which we are supposed to have freedom of navigation. We are not going to allow them to do that. We need to take out more and more targets, more and more specific targets, individuals, capabilities that in any way, shape, or form can interfere with the straits, can interfere with the people rising up. We need to bring the hammer down. If we don't do that, well, then maybe the Iranians could win. But I just don't see that President Trump is going to go, oh, well, never mind, and just go home. I just don't think that's him.
Yeah, it seems to me that if he wanted to get a Pyrrhic victory, he could have already had that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to get your reaction to another topic, too, since President Trump is jetting off to Beijing on Wednesday to sit down with Xi. The investigative journalist Lee Smith, who's written a book about the China Matrix, I think that's the title of it, actually, was on Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, and he had this to say.
I think Xi Jinping is concerned. Xi Jinping is not reading the Washington Post and the New York Times to find out what's happening in Iran. He's looking at Iran directly, and he sees that President Donald Trump is dug in. No matter what they're saying, he knows that gas has gone up. He knows there are midterms, and Donald Trump is dug in. So while everyone says the president is worrying, he's concerned, he wants to get a deal, he wants out. He hasn't taken a deal. There's a whole bunch of deals he could take that would make him look like a genius, but it would still leave the Iranians with the ability to make a nuclear weapons to rebuild their program. Instead, he's dug in. That's what's going to worry Xi Jinping this week.
So do you think Xi is worried about what he's seeing from Trump and America in Iran and the Middle East? Or do you think, as some argue, that the current status of the situation has strengthened Xi's hand?
I don't see how anybody can say it's strengthened Xi. I mean, he's not getting oil from Venezuela anymore. He's not getting oil from Iran. He's got issues here. They have been shown, I mean, go back to just a military level, all of the equipment the Chinese have sent to the Iranians, all of their capabilities has proved to be completely useless against the American military. That, that's something that Xi is looking at, and I'll bet there's some people from his industrial base that he's saying, what the heck is going on? You told me this stuff was unstoppable, even if it's the Iranians running it, not us. And look what's happening. The Americans embarrassed them. What's the deal here? I think that worries him. I think his oil worries him. I think Xi recognizes his economy is way more fragile than America's economy. He wants this stuff to stop. We've shown that America is not going to allow a country to take over a strategic choke point like the Straits of Hormuz, like the Straits of Taiwan. We're not going to let anybody do that. It's against the law of international relations and the freedom of navigation. All of that affects Xi's policies. Is Xi, messing his pants because President Trump's coming to visit him? Probably not. She's a pretty tough and cool character. But if anybody who thinks he's sitting there rubbing his hands together like, oh, we got another muttonhead like Biden coming to visit, this is going to be fun, that is not going to be his thought process for this visit.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you're getting to put one of the other arguments in the direction of Trump. This was even made by Newt Gingrich, but it wasn't meant to be pointed. But it's like, thinking about China and China's designs on Taiwan, what we've learned from Iran is that the U.S. can only handle one war at a time. And I'm not banging the drums of war here, but I don't think we've learned that from Iran. This has been particularly restrained and involved, no ground operations effectively. And so, the idea that we couldn't do more than we're doing because we've chosen to use our resources as we've chosen to use them over the last 60 days doesn't strike me as supported by the evidence.
No, it's totally not. There are lots and lots of options that America still has. And the Iranians and the Chinese and the Russians all know America has other options. And they're going to use the intel element of power or informational element of power to try and pile on with our, the useful idiots here in the United States to derail Trump electorally and from a popular support standpoint by making as much hay as they can with their version of the stories. And, we have people, the number of folks on X who immediately, every time one of these loons says something and it's negative about America and about Trump, it's like, oh, breaking news, giant bombshell.
Yeah, right.
Nancy Pelosi really doesn't like Trump. Yeah, that's a big surprise. And it's stuff of that level. But unfortunately, there's people in America who are lapping that kind of nonsense up with big spoons.
Well, Senator, what about what Senator Mark Kelly said on Face the Nation, which is now potentially the subject of another DOD investigation into Mark Kelly? I don't know if that's warranted, but he essentially talking specifically about briefings he got and where our munitions levels are, and it's going to take years for our defense industrial base to replenish necessary munitions for national security reasons. Is that are you worried about our weapons stockpiles at this point?
I'm not worried about it. Do we need bigger weapons stockpiles? Absolutely. Heritage has been saying that for years because Obama let it all fizzle down, stopped spending money on it. Trump tried to restart it and made some progress. Biden came in, turned it all off again. It's a problem more because of American policy choices by Democrat presidents than it is about that we used it all up in Iran. We haven't used up all of our stocks in Iran, and we're already, because presidents had meetings with several of the big arms manufacturers to say, look, we need you guys to speed up production on some of this stuff. And they said, big thumbs up. We got it, and we'll start doing it. Also, Kelly needs to remember things like when you get a classified briefing, you're not supposed to immediately wheel out to the podium and start talking about it with your liberal media friends.
Yeah, do you think
really a knucklehead?
Well, do you think he crossed the line with the comments that he made about our the state of our weapon supply?
Yeah, I think he did. I don't know if you could, take him to jail for it, but I tell you what, I would definitely say we're not giving this guy briefings about any of this stuff anymore because he leaks like a sieve.
Yeah, that's fair. Before I let you go, Putin saying the Ukraine war will soon end. This was after a prisoner release by Belarus, which is a Putin stooge, headed by his Putin stooge, of the release of a Polish prisoner that I guess the U.S. was instrumental in negotiating. What's your handle on what's going on with Russia and Ukraine and the possibility of an end to that war?
I hope that's true. I'm I am as suspicious of Vladimir Putin's ability to tell the truth as I am of the IRGC and the Mullah's ability to do that. So let's wait and see. Hopefully they're moving in that direction. I mean, Putin is running out of Schlitz, and he is having problems keeping the military going and having a military that might actually win a battle. They're not there anymore and haven't been for a long time. So it would be in his interest to end it, but I don't think he's so dug in the negative sense. I'm not sure that that's really true. It may just be another negotiating ploy on his part. I hope that's not the case.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thank you as always.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, and Stephen joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Bridget, first-time homebuyer, posted this 5-star review about her mortgage experience. Team Hochberg made one of the biggest and nerve-wracking milestones in our life such an enjoyable experience. David and Anna talked us through every step in our home buying journey with a very tight timeline and made us feel comfortable every step of the way. We put in an offer at the beginning of November, and with Team Hochberg's help and expertise, we're able to close on our home by the end of the same month. I couldn't say better things about them and our experience. Team Hochberg all the way. Thank you, Bridget. If you'd like this type of 5-star service on your next mortgage, call Team Hochberg now at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That number one more time and that website you love, 855-563-2843, and go to 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
Parents, what your children are being taught matters more than ever. At Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights, we've been equipping students with a solid, Christ-centered education for over 55 years. Our on-campus school and our homeschool program give families across the nation a proven alternative. Don't wait. Take action for your child's future today. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or schedule a tour. ChristianLiberty.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:37. It's been a while, but it's time for a Dan Proft parenting tip on motherhood. Of course, I'm an expert. No, I'm not, but Caitlin Flanagan had a provocative piece in the Free Press that I want to pour over with you, and we'll fold in Spencer Pratt's Mother's Day ad as well. Take your calls, 312-642-5600, the alphawealthgroup.com answer line at 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan, thank you. In Chicago this morning, 45 degrees and sunshine in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Authorities in Texas investigating after 6 were found dead inside of a railroad boxcar late on Sunday afternoon. Bodies were discovered during an inspection at a rail yard in Laredo, not far from the U.S.-Mexico border. 2 passengers evacuated from the cruise ship stricken by a deadly hantavirus outbreak have tested positive. Ross Cullen says 1 is an American.
In total, 5 French passengers were evacuated to France from the MV Hondias cruise ship, and they are all now in isolation here in the French capital. But during the flights to Paris from Tenerife, one person displayed hantavirus symptoms, and it's now been confirmed that she has contracted the virus.
Authorities say the American was taken to the National Quarantine Unit at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. City and state leaders are expected to push for the next Democrat National Convention to be held in Chicago. Today's site visit includes a tour of the United Center and other meetings. The city is racing to come under consideration after visits to Atlanta, Boston, and Denver. And a judge is expected to rule later today on whether a special prosecutor is needed to investigate alleged crimes tied to Operation Midway Blitz. Attorneys and advocacy groups say federal agents, in their opinion, may have violated state law and argue agents have not been properly investigated. Chicago sports, well, it was a win for the White Sox. They take the rubber match of their series with the Mariners 2-1, while the Cubs were shut out by the Rangers. The Bulls will draft 4th overall after last night's NBA draft lottery. The news service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Goldbridge Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Donley Auctions.
Now that spring is here, it's time for some spring home maintenance.
That's cold!
Hot water issues? Call CenterGuard Plumbing. Right now, get a new 40-gallon atmospheric vent water heater installed for just $1,295 standard installation, or a 50-gallon for $1,395 standard installation with free haul away of your old tank. A proud sponsor of AM 560, you'll save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on tankless and atmospheric vent water heaters with CenterGuard Plumbing. Plus, get 10% off any licensed plumbing contractor competitor's price. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive spring special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5407 to schedule a free consultation.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
Salem Surround. Is your business hard to find online? Meet with a digital marketer today for ideas that will make your business stand out. Visit salemsurround.com.
A revolution in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence obsolete. 3 companies are quietly building a $1 trillion triangle to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Investment guru George Gilder has his finger on the 3 companies whose technology could change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which 3 companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
7:39, a check of the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Still solid downtown. Outbound on the Kennedy, you have an accident blocking 2 left lanes in the cleanup stage between the Burn Circle and Ogden. Bishop Ford outbound, you have an stop-and-go traffic accident situation that's being swept out of your way. It's on the outbound side between 130th and 159th. And an overturned semi on I-80. Traffic is getting by in a single lane. It's eastbound right at mile marker 83 this morning, causing some big delays. Traffic, a service of Summit Racing Equipment. Summit Racing has the parts, tools, and accessories to keep your ride summer road trip ready. Everything for pre-trip maintenance and essentials like emergency roadside kits at summitracing.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but your Monday forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Sunny and cooler today with a high of 58.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
It's time for Dan Prof's parenting tips. Whoa, Dan Prof's parenting tips. Whoa, tell your kids to shut up and listen to him.
You're a child. Top of the morning. Yeah, it's been a while since a parenting tip, but Caitlin Flanagan's piece in the Free Press had me thinking about one over the weekend. So we're going to pour over that. But before we do, speaking of Mother's Day, hope everybody had a lovely Mother's Day. Spencer Pratt, just to go back to him, and one of the reasons I'm impressed with his candidacy, some of it is actually organic. It's not actually coming from his campaign. There's one of the ads that everybody likes so much, sort of the Gotham meets French Revolution ad, was done by a Hollywood guy who I don't think is affiliated with the campaign. There's no paid for designation. I think some of this is just coming from outside the campaign in, but, you know, what he's doing is sparking that sort of interest and creative people coming to the campaign to chip in where they can, even informally and not directly, you know, under the campaign's umbrella. So it's cool. But what you see happening, because Spencer Pratt is done his homework, he knows why he's doing this, and he is unabashed in explaining the why as well as the how and what. He's presenting himself as an actual three-dimensional human being. So there's the fun stuff, there's the snarky stuff, there's the combative stuff on a debate stage, and then there's also a spot like this that brings home his why. As I said earlier in the program when we started talking about the developments in that race. One of the memes, they burned down his house, vote Pratt. Well, this Mother's Day ad he did, a tribute to his wife, Heidi, it has them with their 2 sons in a trailer on the site of where a $3.5 million house once stood, their house.
Heidi and I have been through hell together.
My bad. Oh, I'm pulling up the covers. Oh.
No mom should ever have to go through what she's gone through.
This is the first week he's been here. Hummingbird! 3!
You see him right there?
This was where your bedroom was, remember? This was Mama's room right here. Are you okay? No. I think that they're trying to have a good attitude about it, but I did see Gunner like almost crying up there, but they're so happy to be home.
I am constantly in awe of Heidi. She's the most incredible mom to our boys. She's why I fight.
So to Caitlin Flanagan's piece, excuse me. The biggest event in the history of women, bigger even than suffrage, was the invention of the birth control pill, which became available in the U.S. in 1960. For the first time, women had the ability to decide if, when, and how many children they were going to have. When that was combined with the first stirrings of modern feminism, women were finally able to do what men had been doing through the ages: break into factions and tear each other apart. There's a good level of snark in this piece, which is generally speaking over the right targets. Break into factions and tear each other apart. The mommy wars will bury us all. And Flanagan goes on to describe the mommy wars of the 80s were whether or not moms should work outside the home. But at this point, with 70% of American moms either working or looking for work, the question is moot, I suppose. That's what she argues. So the question now is not whether or not mom should work outside the home, but whether or not a woman should be a mom in the first place. A much more consequential division between young women has quietly and then loudly emerged. The one between mothers and women who are, quote, child-free by choice, unquote, as they often put it. I know many such women, you probably do too. You can attest that they don't seem torn up by the decision. In fact, they made it exactly the way men beg women to make decisions, logically and on the merits. They know that having a baby would unmoor them from many things they cherished about their lives, the freedom to do what they want, untethered by round-the-clock responsibility. They have hopes and dreams about their futures, and they want their earnings to go toward fulfilling them, not toward parenthood. Most of all, they know that babies are a lot of work, and women do most of it. They want to sleep on their own schedules, not on baby time. And she goes on, Flanagan, in that description. And by the way, I mean, if you agree, especially if you're a younger woman, that is a sort of quote unquote, war going on. The new mommy wars, not outside the home, but whether or not to have kids at all. She writes, this Flanagan, not only are these women right, even though she wants to correct each and every one of their bonkers assertions, she says, they don't know the half of it. When my twin sons were infants, she writes, I would literally dream about sleeping. Once they were down for their morning nap, I walked purposely down the hall like a woman headed to work, or maybe more like a dreamer, turned into my bedroom and put my pajamas on. I was just zipping up my bathrobe when I realized it wasn't my bedtime. It was 10:30 in the morning, and there were hours to go before I slept. In many ways, the whole experience was a shocking parade of indignities. In one hideous episode, the boys, maybe 18 months old, contracted some kind of gastroenteritis that struck just as we were wheels up on a flight from the Midwest to California. We went through the diapers before the fasten seatbelt sign was turned off. Those events turned into funny stories soon after they happened because who cares about the miserable moments? They were my sons. And what in the world could be better than having those two little boys around? I knew having children would be the best part of my life, and it was the best part of my life. Just as I knew that the time when they were little would run through my hands like water and never come back again. But for millions of young women, it's as though the intense joy that only motherhood can provide has been wiped off the balance books entirely, leaving behind only the stark truth of the fastened seatbelt sign and the sleepwalking mother. 312-642-5600. It's the alphawealthgroup.com. Call in and text line. And of course, we've talked about this before. This is getting more attention. The demography of Western countries when it comes to families. You have to maintain 2.1 children for women, 2.1 children per woman to reach replacement rate for the population. In 1990, America had 2.08 children per woman. In 2024, the lowest it's ever been, 1.63. In Italy, it's 1.2. In Australia, 1.4. In South Korea, it's 0.8. What unifies the phenomena across countries is the fact that the drop began relatively recently has been unrelenting in its downward trend. And she talks about the governments who have gotten involved, including Trump, to promote having children, and the policies that have proposed, tax relief and even cash payments and so on and so forth. But it's not working. And by the way, I'm not reading the entire piece, but as I'm recounting this, see if there's something that you're picking up on that Caitlin Flanagan doesn't really address, that she's glossing over. She's describing these so-called mommy wars and the consequences of them. She is, I think she's fairly critical of the fact that both the left and the right are promoting more childbirth, except for, sort of ZPG nuts like AOC, and the whole, I'm not having children because of climate change. That's dissipating. The real push from both the left and the right is for manpower among certain cross sections of the left and the right. The left wants more kids to support the welfare state and their blank checkbook spending, and the right for the workforce, the AI revolution. Trump had considered $5,000 bonuses for each birth, but that hasn't come to pass at this point. He's also been presented with the idea of creating a national medal of motherhood for women who have 6 or more children. Yeah, there's something, she's talking about their sort of incentives, and yes, people respond to incentives, but they have to be properly aligned. And I don't think these governments from Hungary to the United States are quite putting their finger on it. She writes about all of these government policies trying to encourage people to get together and have kids. None of it's worked. It seems the problem is more complicated than simple policy. The Nordic countries are hailed as having the most expansive social welfare programs and the greatest gender equity, but they've been busy depopulating themselves off the map. Finland replacement rate, 1.3. Norway, 1.48. Sweden, 1.4. She goes on to write, the people I worry about are the young women who want babies or who are interested in babies, but all they get is the acrid howl of the mommy wars. Well, and from these second and third wave feminists, too, especially the third wave. But if you needed a justification, how's this for one? The reason women chose to have babies is that they know on as deep a level as it's possible to know anything, there's no human emotion as powerful as the love between a mother and a child. Across time and place, it's recognized as the strongest, by far, bond between people. Women don't owe anybody a baby, writes Caitlin Flanagan, and they're not, quote-unquote, selfish if they plan a different life for themselves. They would be selfish if they had a child and put their own needs above his, but they're not selfish to not have one. Being a mother is an experience that will hand you plenty of sleepwalking mornings and endless nights, but you can listen to a mother cataloging all of her complaints, and then, in a very different tone and with no awareness she's just undermined the argument, she will suddenly slip into one of the great unifying topics of motherhood, that her children are growing up too fast, that every morning when she lifts him up from his crib, he seems a tiny bit bigger, that the photographs of just a month ago already look so different from the photographs of this morning. Flanagan adds, here's the absolute truth of the thing. One day you drop your children off for the first day of kindergarten, and by the time you drive back to pick them up, they're finishing 6th grade. And it didn't seem to go that fast for me on the other side of that equation, but... She talked about going to a 6th grade graduation. I don't know what, I guess going on to junior high, grade school, I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, it was held in the morning. Everyone came back at night for a big party and dinner. But she was on the cleanup crew, and by the time she finished, the boys and I were some of the last people in the school. When one of the boys was standing by the front door, he looked out the window, he saw the playground. That was completely empty, the playground where they play every day. Let's walk around it, he said. He had no sense of a valedictory. He just wanted to see what it was like in the nighttime when we had it to ourselves. So we did, and she writes, I was filled with the kind of emotion that hits you so powerfully and so unexpectedly that you think you might break down crying. He was in high spirits because he didn't know yet the story of life, didn't understand that doors are always closing and parts of yourself are left behind forever. We walked around the playground that one time, and then we found his brother, and the three of us got in the car and drove home and never went back there again. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text on the alphawealthgroup.com call in or text line. I mean, it's a very good piece, and as I said, it's properly snarky in certain parts and with the right targets, the second and third wave feminists. The so-called mommy wars. The only thing I would say here is there's sort of a seeding of the faith component. There's a seeding of America being particularly secularized, and I don't mean from a government perspective, I mean from a cultural one. And it'd be interesting to track, although I think it's fairly straightforward, the decline in religiosity with the decline in birth rate. And the propaganda war, if you will, that those second and third wave feminists have largely won, but to the great detriment of, I think, women in general and the country as an extension. I mean, she gets to it, does Flanagan, when she talks a bit about that bond, that unique bond that's sort of recognized across the entirety of humanity. But she just doesn't want to go there and talk about those cultural changes and the promises that were made that, you know, many other commentators have talked about, sort of the Erica Commissar, you can have it all, but just not at the same time. The bills of goods that have been sold by second and third wave feminists that have both unmoored women and men from the idea of family. You know, and since in the classic, this is, and for me, this is the classic case of, you know, those who can't teach, very much like my golf game. And so, Dan Prof parenting tip, read this Caitlin Flanagan piece, really internalize it. If particularly if you're, you or somebody you know is involved in this so-called 21st century version of the mommy war. And pay particular attention to how Caitlin Flanagan talks about motherhood. That's all I'll say. Dan Prof, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Platform safety is so important in your industrial facility. You need to keep personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. Experience one problem with your platforms, and you could be facing costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a metal fabricator, I know the importance of keeping your workplace safe. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor, uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment including steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our team of union building trades mechanics can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality steel products, and install it all, creating a safer workplace environment.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your building. See what else they can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, at Evenings of Conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
They'll be quarantined in Nebraska. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The 18 passengers from the cruise ship stricken by a hantavirus outbreak flown by the U.S. government to a special facility. They landed early this morning. One tested positive and will be in a biocontainment unit. Another is showing mild symptoms. Other passengers being flown to other countries.
A French woman evacuated from the cruise ship hit by hantavirus is in the hospital, her health worsening, and tests confirm she has contracted the respiratory disease. 3 passengers on the MV Hondius have died as a result of hantavirus. The ships docked in the Spanish island of Tenerife. Passengers were escorted to shore by staff in full body protective gear and breathing masks. The World Health Organization says the risk to public health is low.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. There's another outbreak on another cruise ship. The not nearly as deadly norovirus. The Caribbean Princess docked this morning at Port Canaveral in Florida with 115 passengers and crew infected. The norovirus-stricken ship will be cleaned and disinfected. There's no deal with Iran to end the conflict. President Trump called totally unacceptable Iran's counterproposal, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tells CBS 60 Minutes.
It's not over because there's still nuclear material, enriched uranium that has to be taken out of Iran. There's still enrichment sites that have to be dismantled.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv.
The Wall Street Journal reports that the latest Iranian response doesn't resolve the U.S. demand for commitments in advance on the fate of Iran's nuclear program and its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Nuclear issues would be negotiated over the next 30 days, they said. Iran proposes to have some of its highly enriched uranium diluted and the rest transferred to a third country. Now, Reuters reports a spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry claimed the response was not excessive and that the United States continues to have unreasonable demands.
Cole Allen due in court this hour in Washington. The suspect in the White House Correspondents' Dinner attack faces arraignment. America's listening to Fox News.
45 degrees and sunshine at 8:02. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect sun, but only a high of 58 today. City and state leaders are expected to push for the next Democrat National Convention to be held in Chicago. The city is coming off hosting the controversial 2024 convention. Other cities in consideration include Atlanta, Boston, and Denver. A judge is expected to rule later today on whether or not a special prosecutor is needed to investigate alleged crimes tied to Operation Midway Blitz. Attorneys and advocacy groups say federal agents may have violated state law during the immigrant crackdown. The University of Illinois resuming final exams over the weekend after a cyber attack involving Canvas and Instructure.
I was actually in the middle of one of my final exams when abruptly the screen shut down and I was unable to do anything.
All exams originally scheduled for Friday took place yesterday. A church's front facade partially collapsed during Sunday Mass on the city's south side. The collapse happened around 10:45 a.m. at Sacred Heart Church in the Morgan Park neighborhood. Cubs shut out by the Rangers Cubs visit the Braves tomorrow night, while the White Sox came back to beat the Mariners 2-1. And the Bears are adding a suburban native to their roster. ESPN reporting the team has signed free agent Scotty Miller. Whiteout is a Barrington native who attended Barrington High School. The news service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows, limited commercials, subscribe free, 560theanswer.com/podcast. Time now for the AM 560 Business Beat and the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stock futures are narrowly mixed to lower after records last week for the NASDAQ and S&P. Crude oil prices are higher after talks between the U.S. and Iran to resolve the conflict stalled. Brent crude has topped $103 a barrel, West Texas Intermediate at 97. Airline stocks are losing ground on concern that rising oil prices will make it harder to operate profitably. Southwest, Delta, United, and American Airlines shares are all lower. Apollo Global Management is buying two businesses that organize trade shows and conventions and plans to combine them. Emerald Holding is known for trade shows and conferences around the U.S., including the Outdoor Retailers Show. QuestX organizes shows for beauty, wellness, travel, hospitality, and healthcare. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobridge Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Donnelly Auctions. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At JeffBuysYourHouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us, and it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Fight or flight. In Illinois, you've got both options. You can stay and fight, engage in local races, work to change things. Or you can vote with your feet. At LeavingIL.com, we help you build a smart exit plan so you know where to go, when to go, and how to do it right. Take our quick exit readiness assessment. Go to LeavingIL.com. That's LeavingIL.com. Or call 224-800-6979.
Life is full of challenges, but you don't have to face them alone. At InTouch.org, you'll find powerful sermons from Dr. Charles Stanley, daily devotionals, and resources designed to strengthen your faith and bring hope into everyday life. Whether you're searching for encouragement, biblical wisdom, or practical guidance, InTouch.org is here to help you grow closer to God. Discover truth that speaks to your heart. Visit InTouch.org today. That's InTouch.org. Thanks.
Now, this 25th anniversary of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation remains committed to honoring the heroes shaped by that day. Heroes like NYPD Detective Victor Vargas, a U.S. Air Force veteran who died from pancreatic cancer after serving in the World Trade Center recovery efforts. Tunnel to Towers honored Detective Vargas by paying off the family's mortgage. You can donate $11 a month, and you can amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
.809 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and this update is service of the AM 560 store. From your favorite brands, Prof University, Sean Thompson Show. Get the latest when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. Outbound Kennedy, there is an accident in a nearly exactly the same spot there was about an hour ago. 2 left lanes blocked outbound between the Circle and Chicago. Dan Ryan, stop-and-go traffic inbound between 47th and the Circle. Seeing delays and stop-and-go traffic on the Adams eastbound between Elmhurst Road and the Tri-State. Pothole patching blocking things up and causing delays on I-80 with the right lane blocked eastbound at Center. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now a check of the Monday forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny and cool with a high of 59. Tonight, expect clear skies early, followed by increasing clouds. It'll be chilly with a low of 42. Tomorrow will be cloudy, breezy, and warmer with a couple of showers around, mainly late in the day, and a high of 74. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. An interesting discussion on X between David Sachs and, a couple other people's responding to what he posted. You know, David Sachs is a billionaire tech founder, investor. He's part of the All In podcast with other billionaire tech bros. Anyway, talking about data centers. Back of the envelope numbers for a 1 gigawatt data center. All in CapEx, approximately $50 billion. Enterprise revenue generated, $25 to $30 billion a year. Electricity costs $1 to $2 billion a year. So you have a 2-year payback. And he writes, the boom is real. Others who know something about that space more than me agree with him, and some do not. One response, your CapEx number does not account for the fact that GPUs are obsolete in 2 to 3 years. A lot of what you're calling CapEx is actually OpEx, operating expenses. The respondent goes on to say there's no evidence of $25 to $30 billion a year revenue, no demand except bubble stocks needing other bubble stocks. Even Anthropic is only paying Elon half your number for Colossus, and that's a performative deal. He also suggests the electricity cost is wrong, and it omits every other cost of running the business: debt service, interest rates, cooling, networking, maintenance, taxes, staffing, downtime, utilization risk, and so on and so forth. Well, it was back of the envelope. It wasn't a pro forma. But the reason I highlight that, and it's unnecessarily technical perhaps, but one of the things driving investor confidence is that statement that David Sachs made at the end of his little back of the envelope financial explanation of data centers, which is the boom is real. Is it? Or as some were predicting, sort of concurrent with when it was happening, I must add, that there's going to be an AI correction and thus a market correction associated with that. Well, let's get somebody who is well-versed on these matters into the discussion. James Perry is the founder and CIO of Perry International Capital Partners. He joins us now. Jim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you.
So as David Sachs said, the AI boom, as so indicated by data center economics, is it real?
The data center boom is real. I think there's a lot of moving parts to the whole process of getting one up and then actually having it make revenue, right? It's really about what goes in and what goes out. What I will tell you is that the funding component for data centers is very strong. We talked a lot about the circular finance, sort of 6 months ago where, NVIDIA was selling clips to Oracle, and Oracle was getting commitments from data centers, and then data centers were buying chips from NVIDIA, and it all seemed a little bit circular and curious. But I think even in some of that argument, the key component that is never discussed in that circular finance sort of idea is that underneath all that, there's a leveraged loan, right? And Wall Street's setting them up. And these leveraged loans, and a leveraged loan, private credit is really nothing but a bank loan that is not at a bank, right? It's just a private credit outside the banking system. The point is that the investors that are looking to add fixed income to their portfolios, these are routinely insurance companies, pensions, foundations, endowments, sovereign wealth funds, that sort of stuff. Their demand for the financing component, give me my 8% for 10 years and give me my money back. The demand is off the charts, right? Just about every one of these deals has gone out, and they're oversubscribed by 3 and 4 and 5 to 1. So I look at the numbers first, and, maybe David Sachs is right, and maybe he's wrong, and maybe there's some people that disagree with him. But the bottom line is that investors are very willing to add risk to their portfolios with cash flows, future cash flows from data centers. And I think that part of it is real. I think the data center build out is only part of the AI revolution. There's all kinds of numbers out there, but I saw an internal document from Microsoft about 18 months ago, and it showed that businesses spent $350 billion on AI development. That includes data centers. It also includes your, subscription to Microsoft Copilot on your laptop, right? But that number was $350 billion in 2024. It doubled to $750 billion in 25, and in 26, it's going to be $2 trillion. And Microsoft estimates, and by the way, 1.7 trillion is about 6% of GDP, right? GDP being 33 trillion. But Microsoft says that the AI spend from U.S. businesses by 2030 is going to be 25% of GDP, and right now it's 10. So is it real that it can keep going? The smart guys in the space believe it's true, and I do too.
So they're going to continue to drive the market up, basically unabated, unless there is some sort of military escalation that extends beyond Iran at this point?
Right. I think unabated is kind of too big of a word. I would say that. No market goes up straight and, forever. But, as it stands, from the March 30th low, the S&P 500 is up 17%. But companies like Google are up 45%, and NVIDIA is up 32%. And, of course, these semiconductor stocks are up more than that. So I do believe that, when you look at a valuation of a stock, it's a price-earnings multiple. It's the market price of the stock divided by the earnings. And the S&P 500 is selling right now for about 24, 25 times earnings. But future earnings, future PE multiples are down to 21, and that's because the denominator of the ratio, the earnings number, is going up so much. And I wrote a piece last night, and it's really about the earnings that are coming through in the indices and whatnot. The earnings growth rate, Dan, I don't know if all of your investors really understand this yet, but they're going to come in, and we're about 90% reported already. NVIDIA reports on May 20th, so we've got a few more to go here. The point is, the growth rate in earnings of the S&P 500 in Q1 is at 27.1%, right? And it was at 13% last quarter, and it was expected to be 15% this year, so it's twice as high. And if you look at the growth stocks, the real go-go stocks, the Mag 7 growth rate so far in Q1 is at 61%, and the 493 other stocks in the S&P are actually rising at a growth rate of 16.4%. So, everybody was worried about the revenues coming in for these guys that are spending all this money. The revenues are for real, and they're booming. So I think that the AI revolution is for real. I think it's going to continue to be a larger piece of GDP, and I think that you're seeing revisions economically and market-wise, earnings constantly being revised. About a month ago, just to kind of put it in here before I send it back to you, GDP in Q1 was expected to be negative by the mainstream media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the government was closed and they're worried about government layoffs and all this sort of stuff. First quarter GDP came in at 2%, right? And if you look at the Atlanta Fed, which has an index that's updated every day, it's called GDP Now. GDP for Q2 is going to be over 4%, right? And this is with a war going on and all kinds of troubles with Trump and, a new ballroom and all this sort of stuff. The fact is that the economy is doing really well, So I don't think the market's going to go straight up. Nothing ever does. This has been a really big move. I think we stabilize in here to find out if there's going to be some bombs flying into Tehran again anytime soon. But generally speaking, it's a buy dips in market in the technology sector.
And so, okay, that's good. That's good bottom line to have.
Right.
Okay, but so clearly the market is indicating, too, that inflation is not a general concern. Recession is not a general concern. But what about, since Trump is over in Beijing or en route, what about if China, which has a debt problem that's 3x the United States'
Right.
What if China, can't get the energy that it needs to power its economy and starts to slip? I mean, obviously that has ripple effects. The same thing with Western Europe's malaise.
Right.
It has ripple effects. So is that at all a concern, or correspondingly, what would you like to hear coming out of Xi and Trump sit down?
Right. That's a good question, and it's a big question. It covers a lot of ground here. Let's start with China. The Chinese economy is a mess, right? The mortgage problem that we had here in 2007 and 2008 and 2009, that probably knocked off about, what are the numbers on that? I would say it probably knocked off about 10% of GDP for 3 years, right? Very concentrated in the mortgage market for homes. In China, that number is about 40%, right? 40% of the Chinese output is going to have to be written off because nobody's moved into all these buildings they've built all over the country. They're still standing empty. So the write-off on the Chinese real estate market will be 25% of GDP over the next 3 to 5 years. So they're in a big, deep hole, and they are really, I would say, on paper, they're insolvent, right? Now, you have a central bank that controls everything, so you don't have a market rate, you don't have a Fed. If the Chinese government says spend money, they just print it. So the biggest issue in China is that they're printing money left, right, and center. Global money supply is also at 350% of GDP, and about 50% of that's coming from China. So China is the profligate son. They're the ones that are spending all this money and printing all this money. I think that the big picture, kind of getting back to your question, do we worry about a Chinese economy? the bottom line is the Communist Party can maintain and control that economy for as long as they want. Ultimately, if things get bad enough, they can just murder 100,000 people or something like that. So it's going to keep going, and they've got some good parts. I mean, honestly, that's it's a little harsh, but I mean, they've got things that they can do that Western civilization governments cannot do, and that's a command society and say, well, we're going to put 50 million people in the army, go pound sand somewhere. But I think the Chinese economy is in trouble from an energy standpoint, Dan, and getting really back to your bigger question. They really do have a big problem with energy, and they're building a lot of solar, and they're building a lot of nuclear, and they've got a lot of dams that are producing a lot of power and all that. But they need diesel fuel. They need jet fuel. They need gasoline. And they've got a storage of probably a year, maybe a year and a half. They're smart that way. They store a ton of copper and nickel and all kinds of stuff like that. But don't kid yourself. This strait being shut, China buys 95% of Iran's oil, 95% from Kharg Island, right? And 50% of the oil coming out of the Gulf goes to China, and about 70 of it goes to other Asian countries, India, Indonesia, Thailand, Korea, places like that. So this is a really big problem. This Gulf story is a really big problem for Asia, way bigger than Europe, and certainly bigger than here. And I think this summit in Beijing, Trump is flying out on Wednesday, I guess, or Tuesday night. They're going to talk about getting this strait open. And I think, the Iranians, I don't think they realize how much trouble they're in. It's not just, the U.S. I mean, China needs it open. India needs it open. The Indonesia, Korea, Taiwan, and all of Europe needs it open. So the most insulated from this whole mess is us, although our goals there are as powerful and as strong as anybody else. We want to maintain a hegemony over the sort of petrodollar. So we're doing all we can there. But the point is that if we don't get this Gulf oil flowing through the strait freely within the next month or so, you're going to have a global recession, right? And it's going to start in Asia, and then it's going to go to Europe, and then the knock-on effect here will slow us down too.
And another issue I wanted to raise, and I sent you this piece from our friend Chris Whalen at the Institutional Risk Analyst. He looked at you mentioned mortgages. He looked at the non-bank mortgage sector as the prospect for lower interest rates is fading fast. He writes, on the one hand, a number of large issuers are continuing to thrive even in a difficult interest rate market. Secondly, mortgages and non-agency jumbo loans are growing as a percentage of overall production volumes. Yep. On the other hand, the aggressive behavior of some issues is distorting pricing for loans in the secondary market and maybe creating circumstances for the next systemic, quote unquote, surprise in the non-bank sector. Basically, he's saying we're looking at the prospect of a countrywide coup. And his top candidate for a non-bank default is Ishbia's United Wholesale Mortgage, which would be really bad because then they'd probably ask taxpayers to fund that new White Sox stadium. But the larger point about the Ishbias and their company, these billionaires, this is what he writes. The basic issue with the United Wholesale Mortgage business model is they pay too much for loans in order to protect their dominant market share, 40%, in wholesale lending. Rocket Companies is second at less than 10. Penny Mac is third, around 5. When mortgage rates were falling in Q1, you would see UWMC Partners, United Wholesale, quoting way below market rates. These brokers quote below market rates and hope the market gets there, but United Wholesale Mortgage has been buying down low coupon rates for years. And so, I mean, he goes through this in more technical detail, but basically said, look, 2 decades ago, another extremely aggressive lender, Countrywide Financial, utilized similar lending practices to boost volumes. Countrywide was a thrift that had meager core deposits and habitually overpaid for loans to hurt competitors, forcing down profits for the entire industry. And then it became a race to the bottom, and obviously Angelo Mozillo and Countrywide got caught with their pants down. And he thinks, and he's saying that this could happen again. And you want to talk about something that would be a negative contagion in our domestic economy, something like what he's talking about. So I don't want to overhype it, and I don't pretend to have the understanding of it that you do, but I wanted to raise the prospect because Chris Whalen's a pretty, sensible guy, and he's raising the prospect.
Yeah, Chris Raylan's a smart guy, and I think his analysis is probably correct. I disagree with him in his conclusion that this will be an issue that is going to be large enough to create a systemic liquidity event that hurts the financial system, right? That's what we're really talking about at its core. Yeah. And in the mortgage crisis, 07, 08, the biggest problem was that, well, there's several problems, but the biggest problem was that liquidity in the financial system went down, right? And when that happens, banks stop lending, and then people can't roll over loans, and they probably shouldn't have gotten a mortgage in the first place, and everybody goes bankrupt, and the mortgage lenders, have to close their doors. That happened then. I don't think that's going to happen this time, Dan, and I'll tell you why. Again, back to this money supply story. Money supply is growing, and the financial system is more liquid today than it has ever been, right? And I think balance sheets at the corporate level are much better. The dot-com boom, everybody tries to compare this sort of rally in the markets to the dot-com boom. They couldn't have been more different, right? At that time, most of those companies weren't even making money, right? And the fact is, pretty much all of them are making money right now. So you've got a labor force. It's 170 million, which has never been making more money. The cash flow through the system is strong, and if you look at the housing market, it's a little bit tricky. People try to make one statement about it and kind of cover the whole country, but the real estate market in this country is really about 30 or 40 or 50 different real estate markets. San Francisco is different than San Diego, and Boston's different than Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is different than Atlanta and Austin and Miami and Chicago. The bottom line is there's a lot of houses out there that people would like to sell because they've gone up, but people don't want to buy them and get a new mortgage for something because the house prices are too expensive, right? But if you look at the new home sales market, right, new home sales are probably 15 to 20% of the market. The new home sales market in the United States, the last couple of numbers, we got some last week. February new home sales were up 8.9%, and March new home sales were up 7.4%, right? So back in the dot-com boom and back in the last mortgage market, there was no growth in new home sales, right? None. It was all about what you can buy. So I think that there are pockets of weakness, clearly, but I think broadly speaking, if you look at the U.S. housing market, it's growing. The prices are at all-time highs. They're maybe 5% below that. And then if you go to the Sun Belt, I mean, I don't know the last time you've been to some place like Orlando or someplace like that, or Phoenix, but I've been to both places in the last sort of 3 weeks. And there's construction cranes and developments going up all over the place in just about every city. And, Miami looks like Hong Kong did when I was living there 20 years ago. There must be 50 cranes in Miami going up. So broadly speaking, I think there are risks to the economy. I don't believe that, despite how smart and correct Chris Whalen is on his numbers on this particular component of it, broadly speaking, the U.S. housing market is going to track GDP growth. It's not going to bring it down.
All right, there you have it. It's going to be the roaring 20s all over again, or at least the remainder of the 20s are going to be roaring, it sounds like, according to James
I
Perry.
don't know how long it's going to keep going on, Dan, but, it's clearly an industrial revolution based on technology. And I think what a lot of people forget, and your listeners should understand this because it's really a big component of it, the corporate America is behind it, right? The Googles and the Microsofts and the Metas and the Amazons, these guys are spending big, big money. But, so are all the smaller companies too, right?
Yeah.
And the fact is that the growth rates are continuing to be there. And I think that if you look at the real big issue it's all kind of a result of this deglobalization from, a few years ago, the COVID lockdown. But the United States government is spending a ton of money supporting this expansion, right? I mean, I don't know if people remember this, but, the government bought 10% of Intel in August of 25, right?
Yeah, I remember it.
$20.50 a share. It's at 125 now, right? So it's gone up 5x. The government's got a $55 billion profit in its Intel share, right?
Yeah, well, good. So get out of it and don't ever do that again. Yeah. Jim Perry, founder, CIO, Perry International Capital Partners, of course. Jim, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Have a good week.
You too. And Jim joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
48 degrees. I'm Mike Scott in our QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect sunshine, but only a high of 58 today. Iran's response to a U.S. proposal to end the war is drawing the ire of President Trump. In a Sunday post, the president said he's read the response from what he referred to as Iran's so-called representatives and called it unacceptable. CDC Director Jay Bhattacharya says the Hunta virus will not lead to any pandemic like the coronavirus did. Bhattacharya is speaking about the virus on CNN's State of the Union on Sunday.
This is not COVID, Jake, and we don't want to treat it like COVID. We don't want to cause a public panic over this. We want to treat it with the hantavirus protocols that we're successful in containing outbreaks in the past.
His comments come as passengers are being evacuated from a cruise ship in the Canary Islands that's been infected with the virus. Here locally, 3 are dead following a wrong-way crash in the west suburbs. It happened along I-88 in Aurora. Yesterday, state police continue their investigation. City and state leaders are expected to push for the next Democratic National Convention to be held in Chicago. Today's site visit will include a tour of the United Center, as well as other meetings. The city's coming off hosting the controversial 2024 Democrat National Convention. And authorities are investigating after one teen was killed and 2 others wounded in a shooting in northwest Indiana.
Just tons of kids running all over the yard, down the street. Cars couldn't get out, and it was just chaos.
Porter County sheriffs say it happened after a prom party following Michigan City High School's prom. Cubs were shut out by the Rangers. White Sox beat the Mariners. The news service of Fox Valley Coins buying all gold and silver bars and coins, silver dollars, rare date proof and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt says the Democrats aren't in touch.
You know, I watch this low IQ guy, Hakeem Jeffries, and he's always ranting and raving, oh, this war is so terrible, terrible. They shouldn't be saying that when we're in the midst of a negotiation.
The president is not wrong. They don't really understand America at all, and I don't think that Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer speaks for the average Democrat. They certainly don't speak for the military. They don't speak for me.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago immune support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a super fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. But wait, there's more. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be switching to an American wireless company that's committed to keeping 100% of its customer service in this country. I appreciate that. In fact, that's why I switched. I also appreciate the way they support our vets and our skilled workforce. Dial pound 250, say micro, and get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. That's pound 250 micro. Stop paying twice what you need to pay for the service you want and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, at Evenings of Conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Taking a look at the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. An accident on the Kennedy outbound, 2 left lanes blocked between the Circle and Chicago Avenue. An accident on the Stevenson outbound side between Ashland and Pulaski. Stop and go traffic on DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. And an overturned semi on I-80. Traffic is getting by in a single lane. It's eastbound right near mile marker 83. Traffic is backed up to Route 178 this morning. Traffic, a service of USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. Business moves fast when you ship with USPS Ground Advantage. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your Monday forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Sunny and cooler today with a high near 58.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, AOC, the front woman for the Socialist Spice Girls in the House, you've heard of her. She was featured at David Axelrod's Institute for Political Skullduggery at the University of Chicago. And boy, what a turnout she got. Disturbing that U of C undergrads and grads and professors could be responding to her rank ignorance with applause and enthusiasm. But that's exactly what you heard. AOC's take on the American Revolution, just to give you an example before I get to the thrust of my point of raising her comments.
The American Revolution was against the billionaires of their time. And we are declaring independence from such an extreme marriage of wealth and power and the state.
As some noted online, Robert Morris, who was the richest man in America at the time of the Revolution, used his own personal wealth to finance much of it. So he was effectively a billionaire financing the American Revolution, not to mention the legions of stories about the founders and what they sacrificed to get out from underneath King George. But okay, there's a advertisement to not send your kid to Boston University, apparently. But then it turned to the question of on everybody's mind. Are you going to run in 28? Are you thinking about it? Please say yes. And she didn't say no. But this is sort of what you're up against next generation, as we talked about how tired and staid and unworkable in the near term, and maybe the near term is June 2nd in L.A. or November in L.A. with respect to the mayor's race, that Karen Basura act is not going to fly for much longer in places that are disintegrating. And maybe Spencer Pratt is perfectly positioned himself to be that surprise win. But this is what you're actually up against. It's not Karen Bass. It's representatives of a neo-Marxist revolutionary party that offer things like this.
Would like you to run for president in 2028.
Applauses. It's not the rabble. They're dressed up in suits and stuff.
Apparently some of them are here. And there are people who, there are others who would like you to run for the United States Senate. Senator Schumer's up in 2028. I don't know. It sounded like even more. Should we do it?
To New York or to other parts of the country?
How many would like AOC to stay in Congress? See.
Get to the question, Axelrod. Good grief.
What say you about all of this?
You know, it's funny because in this op-ed that Jeff Bezos paid for in the Washington Post, there was this line that you had mentioned earlier about, well, as a potential 2028 contender, XYZ. And in the context of that, it was very clear this was a veiled threat, right? So it was the elite saying, if you want this job, you just stepped out of line. And we want you to know where the real power is. And it's in the modern day barons who own the Post and own the algorithms, and we'll make an example out of you. And what's funny about that is that they assume that my ambition is positional. They assume that my ambition is a title or a seat. And my ambition is way bigger than that. My ambition is to change this country. And presidents come and go, Senate, House seats, elected officials come and go, but single-payer health care is forever. A living wage is forever. Workers' rights are forever. Women's rights, all of that.
That's great to know. She doesn't need to be Robespierre necessarily. Joy Pullman, executive editor of The Federalist and author of False Flag, Why Queer Politics Mean the End of America, joins us. Joy, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So if that's the future of the what they call the Democrat Party, what should the future of the Republican Party be post-Trump, do you think?
Well, I actually think it's very interesting that AOC is saying a lot of things that really we've seen before in terms of the number of voters who were open to both Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. And the answer, so what this really reveals is, look, the normal person in America, again, not the billionaires. The billionaires are really not popular on both sides of the party. And I don't have any problem with people who earned their wealth honestly, but a lot of people, Americans are aware, have basically earned their wealth by corruption, by being close to the levers of power. And the Republican Party is very much a part of that. They're kind of a junior partner in being able to extract rents from the government for their people, while the Democrats are really superstars at that kind of corruption. But, the people who vote for Republicans are really looking for Republicans to act on their priorities, are really looking for Republicans who are able to win, who are not just staying in power to keep their campaign donors and big business happy. And so we saw this, of course, recently in the primary elections in Indiana, where, voters really did respond to the idea of not just kicking out state senators who voted against redistricting, but that was really a proxy war for this idea of not being able to use power on behalf of your voters while, the daily life in America gets harder and harder. Inflation continues to rise. Gas prices continue to rise. Our kids are still having, queer ideology put on them in school, especially, at all levels, but especially the college level. And Republicans in some states, such as Florida, at the federal level under Trump, are doing a good job of this. But in many states, they're really not doing that. And their voters have learned that we should be able to get more out of them. And that's really why not only Trump is popular, but people like AOC.
Yeah, your piece about the Indiana primary, tracked with what I said the day after that election a couple of weeks ago, which is that this, of course, the D.C. press corps wants to make it a referendum on Trump. They were hoping all those incumbent senators who voted against redistricting would win, and it would indicate Trump has lost his influence in the Republican Party, or they win and Trump dominates the Republican Party and it's, requires MAGA orthodoxy. And I agree with what you said, and it said at the time, is that this was about voters looking and saying, these guys who didn't want to be inconvenienced with redrawn Senate districts because they're perfectly comfortable in the Senate districts they have, put themselves above my interests and above the party's interests, and by extension, the country's interests, with an eye towards the midterms. And I see Republicans putting in the fight in Florida and Texas and now in a bunch of other states too. And these guys are going to take a pass because it's inconvenient for them and their nice little sinecure. So the hell with that.
Well, exactly. Republicans are just content, really, to just kind of be seat warmers too often. And that, especially when you have this existential crisis, this threat from the left. So AOC, right, she's using talking points that are absolutely popular with people, but she is an out and proud socialist. In socialist regimes, which is really the kind of deliberate preface to communism, what that does is actually concentrates more wealth and power in a few elites, then impoverishes the people more. What it is an acceleration of the trend we already have of the gap between the rich and the middle class in this country. The middle class is getting hollowed out. And so we really need Republicans to be an effective counterweight to the stalking horses of socialism and communism in our country, and working on behalf of expanding that middle class, making home ownership, healthcare. Healthcare is a killer for people. We already have, we have majority single payer in this country. The majority of people in this country are using government subsidies in order to get healthcare. That is killing the economy. It's killing the young families who are having to pay $25,000, $30,000 a year, half of a full-time salary just to have insurance and get no benefits out of it. Republicans have got to have a fire lit under the behinds to actually solve these sorts of problems for their voters, or they're all they are is delivering election victories to a very energized, straight-up socialist communist left.
Yeah, and yet another example of that ongoing right now, of course, is the Save America Act. Trump's sitting down and doing an interview with Cheryl Atkinson for her Full Measure program, and said, basically said, look, they need to blow up the filibuster because it's very clear that the other side is going to do it. So we have these recalcitrant Republicans, and if you're against voter ID, or if you're against doing the things necessary and within your legitimate power to do, then you're not for, election integrity. And this is craziness. And so what people see from Thune and the failure to call out the recalcitrant Republicans in that Senate Republicans that we know are the recalcitrant ones, it just seems like more shady, mealy-mouthed bull jive from people that don't want to act in furtherance of who they said they would be. And this is after Dobbs, and we can't talk about abortion, or we're going to get killed because of, and this is after now, so many decisions, callous now. You have these institutional or these establishment Republicans that are so afraid to press the issue even when they're victorious or on the precipice of victory with public support.
Well, and every one of the things that they bring up, for example, such as the filibuster, is just a fake excuse, right? They actually don't need to get rid of the filibuster in order to pass the SAVE Act. All it requires is doing a, talking filibuster, just basically requiring people in the Senate to work more than 2.5 days a week and to stay up there talking for a time to tire out, the opposition. Our Senate is full of geriatric people who are not competent to execute their duties. And for me, it's not an age issue. It's like a body decomposition and mental issue, right? So if you require them to just do their job more than 2.5 days a week, you get the SAVE Act passed, right? So the filibuster whole situation is just like a fake, because I understand the president's kind of trying to neutralize it as an issue, but the real underlying issue is what you pointed out. Republicans, especially in the Senate, but in many, many parts of the party, all the way from the local level, all the way up to the highest level, they don't want to adopt the Trump model of delivering on their promises to their voters, and their voters see through that, and they're beyond sick of it. We're talking, the Tea Party revolution under Obama was initiated in response to the lack of Republicans to really use the power that voters give them to defend our interests. Right? That's more than 10 years ago that's happening. And so we've been stuck in this dynamic, and voters are getting madder and madder, and they're having, what's more important, less and less faith that the people they elect are that elections really have consequences, especially for Republican voters. Elections have consequences for Democrats, but they don't for Republicans, and that creates a very dangerous, unstable social situation with a lack of trust in our systems of government. And Republicans, I think the primary results absolutely have motivated some Republicans to kind of see, oh, wow, okay, we do have to follow the Trump model of delivering for our voters, but we need a lot more of that a lot faster, because the stakes are very, very high at this point. We're not playing tiddlywinks. We're talking about the erasure of the country here.
Right. And again, the juxtaposition, you have Democrats in Virginia trying to usurp power they don't have to draw the map. And even after the state Supreme Court's decision, rumors about, disbanding changing the retirement age, disbanding. They will use power they don't have. And then you watch Republicans unwilling to use power they legitimately do have. That's the thing I think that really rubs people.
That's right. That's the dynamic that voters are just completely sick of. And look, it's almost like Republicans want to lose the midterms just the way that they're acting. In fact, it does seem that they're more comfortable being on the losing side, right? Because then they can fundraise without having to do all the duties and responsibilities and difficulties of wielding power. But again, voters are not going to put up with that. And the primary situation is very interesting. And it's not just, the Indiana. We're talking about all the way across the country. We're seeing this happen, for example, the Texas Senate situation between, Cornyn, the Attorney General Paxton over there. There's a number of other situations that this is going on. And I do think that President Trump's team really should be thinking about that, because his track record of endorsing in primaries is very uneven. And so really they need to be thinking about that as part of their strategy when their endorsements happen, and really not continue to endorse the same people who are knifing in the back all of the Trump coalition and voters' priorities in the Senate and elsewhere.
Joy Pullman, executive editor of The Federalist, Federalist.com, and author of False Flag, Why Queer Politics Mean the End of America. Joy, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And she joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. If you're a business owner with unfiled tax returns, tax season is not your friend. This is when the IRS turns up the heat. They match 1099s. They review payroll filings. They compare bank deposits. And when returns are missing, they don't send you a warning. They take action. Penalties stack up fast. Liens become public. Bank levies can drain your account. I see it every year. Good business owners who waited too long, not because they're crooks, but because they were overwhelmed. Let me be clear, hiding makes it worse. Action makes it fixable. I help business owners get compliant, file what's missing, and negotiate from a position of strength, not fear. Don't wait for the next certified letter. Don't wait for a levy. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll tell you exactly what to do next, step by step. Or call me right now at 312-664-6649. Act now before the IRS acts first.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning. Oh, well, it's at the end of the morning for me. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Back with more wit and wisdom tomorrow, and perhaps, hopefully, we'll get to it. The secret to living to the age of 117, if that's something you desire to do, not me. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND, Chicago.
Cole Allen pleads not guilty. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A short time ago in Washington, the suspect in the White House Correspondents' Dinner attack.
He's facing the same 3 counts outlined in the criminal complaint revealed a few days after the shooting, attempting to assassinate the president. 2 firearm charges. Allen's also been charged with assaulting a federal officer with a deadly weapon.
That Secret Service agent was spared by a bulletproof vest. Fox's David Spunt also reports from outside the court in D.C.
Allen is asking the judge to force acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro